Yeah. It's the code breakers. It's Paradox.
Yo, this is DC in the place to be. Right back at it again, man. Right back at it again. Ready,
Yes, sir.
ready, ready, willing to rock and roll your soul.
Yeah, man. Get on these politrics and politics.
As far
A lot going on in the world.
as the naysayers, man, they say that we was ducking and hiding, man. You know, or whether more so I was I was ducking and hiding because
I
there's
was
a
about to
so
say it means nothing to me at all. It's just a YouTube channel. It doesn't mean anything. Who cares?
Well, in the open market of thoughts and ideas and perceptions and opinions, people tend to swing their own narratives their own way when, they have a certain audience
I
that's
don't.
willing
I
to
don't want
listen
to
to their
exist
beliefs.
to any of those people. I'm just doing shows on politics, and that's it. I don't. I'm not measuring myself against nothing. I'm not tied to nothing. I'm not connected. I don't care about anything going on YouTube or social media besides what I'm doing and what I watch. All that other stuff, it doesn't even exist to me. It's ether.
That's what it is.
I have no
That's what it
it has
is.
nothing, nothingness, literally.
What it
Uh,
is.
I spend so much time consuming news, media stuff. I don't even have time, really. I mean, it's childish, basically. It's small children in my mind. There's too much real things going on in the world, to be honest with you. But there's just no weight there. That's all fantasy, pretend shit, really. Like we're managing the whole world, so it doesn't even measure up to have any value, really. To be honest with you,
The
I
only
just
thing
don't.
that
It just don't. Just it just doesn't. I can't connect with it. When I'm watching children getting blown up in countries, people starving, as
right.
the world moves back and forth, people making money, getting rich, technology changing the world. I mean, it's so many things that are going on there that is so much more valuable that all that little, ant-like behavior bullshit that happens in irrelevant world again means nothing at all to me in no way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I really want people to kind of like get that. That's the whole basis of our channel is not to sit there and feed that kind of deal. Like that's
It's
not what me and
irrelevant.
Paradigm here for. You know. So if that's what you guys are really into, then maybe this is not the channel for you guys to listen to, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. I don't have no problem with it at all. We're not trying to, like I said a long time ago, we're not trying to reshape your mind, reshape your mindset about whatever you believe in.
Just stay away from me, please, Lord Jesus. I don't think nothing. I'm only talking to you, to be 100% with you. Like it doesn't. Me and you've had what, probably 20 conversations in the last 2 weeks that we should have recorded.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah,
I
it
know.
doesn't really it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. That's my whole point.
Right, 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 right.
you know,
Well, this is
the
not,
world
this,
the
I
world is
mean,
being
to
shaped.
be,
The world is being shaped by very great people who run all these nations around the
well,
world, and that's how the world shapes, and that's how the
to,
world moves, and that's where the world goes at the end of the day.
to be really honest with you, I hate that I even brought you into some of this stuff because this more so to do with my connection to certain spaces than you ever. Yeah, I brought you into this, so it don't have anything to do with you, really. To be honest with you, it's just people trying to build off whatever they deem to be some kind of slight or whatever we say here, trying to either build their own narrative or spin a narrative. And like I said, it's never been the purpose of our channel was not to start beef, not to start any kind of reaction. I know that you're not totally into that. I have delved into that
I just
because
I
I
just
know
want
that,
to respond to the news, man. The real things that are really happening in the world. All that other stuff is,
no, no, no.
like I said,
I got you. I got
it's
you. I
child's
got
play.
you. I got you. But I think that really the only reason why I'm saying this is because if if people are coming to our channel to try to get some kind of back and forth response, then that's like I said, that's not what we're here for. You know, not at all. So yeah,
It doesn't matter, man. It doesn't matter. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah. So we can keep it moving, man. But what's good, man? What you want to start with? What's the one thing that you want to start with, really quick?
I don't know. We've
Before
already
we
had we I really have already talked all of it out with you, so I'm out. I'm tapped out. Well, we talked probably for what? I don't even know. 3 hours probably. We went through so much stuff. I don't even
yeah.
know where to start. I mean, we had that. I would say that interview with Kamala's people. I thought was interesting, but I have to watch it some more though. One time, not
Which
enough.
one?
There's a lot
The
going
one I
on.
the one I
Hmm?
sent you today, or are you talking about
Yeah, the
yesterday?
one from today.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting because
I
some of the
mean,
stuff.
I love it because it shows you the it shows you the their thinking, the strategy, and I can see how they're saying it exactly how it translated and what they did.
Mhm.
And they made a very good point. They made some bets, and you got to live with the bets. So I like a lot of that part. They did a good job explaining it. It first started out like, oh Lord, it's buckets of words happening right now, but then they finally started to
Yeah,
actually give some real information and kind of
yeah.
give a little bit of.
Especially, go ahead.
I'm good. Go ahead.
I was going to say, especially about the interviewing part, about how she was, how that was perceived, and how they actually took it. And yeah, I didn't. It just lets you know that how strong the media the media apparatus from the right is as far as dictating stuff. Remember I was saying, remember I was telling you that they have to run through the tape. They can't be on the defense uh, all the time because it's just like turning the ball over, like in football. Like you can't, your defense get worn out. Like if somebody is on a offense and they're on the field and they got time of possession, just say like the public or the propaganda wing as far as the media's mindset. If they got that field and you're trying to defend it for so long, continuously, when are you going to score any points? And that's, you know, she has some good standing, but there are so many different. The more that I think about what took place, there's so many different things that went on as far as like the environment, the time frame, um, what happened during the output of the election. Um, it doesn't seem like it to people, but this is still a very, very close election. A lot of people don't see that, but it was people, and I know a lot of folks are like, nah, it was a blowout. It was this and that. Yeah, electoral college.
But you got to stop talking to parrots and listening to parrots on TV too, because it's a lot of parrots pushing. I mean, I'm not telling you nothing you don't know. I'm not trying to give advice to even the audience at the end of the day, but it's kind of like machines are running all the time, and
I'm
so
I'm
before you know it,
saying
you're parroting, and not just you, but a lot of people did a lot of, not you per se, but a lot of parrots out there yelling and screaming. And I find it funny because if you can track down who starts doing it and then sort of watch it pick up and go from news station to news station to YouTube to social media, it's just very interesting. And then before you know it, you'll find yourself, you know what I'm saying, parroting. It's got being a parrot basically. It's kind of funny actually. Just the power and pressure of the
Yeah,
of the media and how the mind sort of has to deal with it.
yeah. You
It's
you you
fascinating to be honest with you.
you keep you keep repeating something for so long, no matter how much you hate it,
Yeah, it's
you,
psychological
you stay
warfare
with it.
almost when you think about it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's an attack on the brain. So what
Yeah.
I was saying that to say this, that clearly, the numbers bear it out. It was a very, very close election, which means that she didn't get blown off the door. It wasn't no clear, concise mandate like maybe we thought it was at the early beginning of when the numbers came down. As the numbers come rolling
But
in, it
that's
was a
a
lot.
republic. But that's a Republican talking point. So they are allowed to make all of those points. They can bang
Right,
your
right,
head
right.
as much as they want to.
Right. But what I'm saying is, I'm just saying for the reality of the situation is what I mean. Uh,
No, for
a
sure.
lot of people, a lot of people don't see the wins in North Carolina. They don't see the wins in Ohio. Some of the Democratic seats that were basically either held or they flipped. Um, the
Well, I think
Democrats
people
did not.
who are pushing clips. You take like a Pierce Morgan or something. You take a big channel. They're gonna
Yeah.
push what they're gonna hit on what's working. So the getting to the nuances of it is boring, especially if you won. You know what I'm saying? It's the loser that's saying, "Oh, well, like you said, oh, if we would have caught we would have got that interception, we would have got that,
I know.
you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah,
We jump
so
all
you sort of
sides up. That's
diagnose
what
it.
I'm saying. It's just that's what I mean. And that's why it doesn't make sense for them to deep dive into going to just uncover themselves and be like, we just need to change everything. It doesn't work that way. Just this cycle was just a
Mhm.
cycle. You can review it, but to go back and say, well, we did this, we did that, we did this, we did that. I don't think that, if the candidate was just all wrong, then maybe that works. But there was really, she was fine. I mean, in a pocket of things as far as like things that she did and the kind of person that she was and her resume and all that she represented. Um, she kept it within the pocket of the actual politics game. It was 107 days, a little bit over 3 months to actually run a campaign to get the people to get to know her. It was difficult, and you're coming from behind. So there's a
Like you
lot of
said,
there's a lot of
if you contextualize it, like you said, it just depends on where your mind is at. Like if you're trying to make a point, then you can kind of say whatever you want to say, of course. But if you look at it from where Joe Biden was as a failed candidate at the time, and no matter who you are, you have to come in and close up 20, 30 points. If you don't understand politics and the whole that whole environment and how difficult and how much of a risk that is, then like I said, it's not much to talk. What do you say to a person, right? Because like you said, if you're just trying to analyze and break it down, and you're not on either side, you're just kind of studying and you're saying, well, man, on the Democratic side, Joe Biden was down 25, 30 points. You bring in this new candidate for the Democrats, and that person closes the gap. So if you're in a race, right, as an analogy, and a 4x1, and you don't get the baton until everybody has ran all the laps or whatever. It's like one lap to go. Now you're running, and then you know how you almost get, you know what I'm saying, right? Or you almost get there, but it's not gonna happen. The problem, what's so funny about it though, is that the media on the left did not set it up that way. I think they mentioned it early on. And like you said, you're picking and choosing what you're trying to do, and it's actually very interesting when you sort of diagnose it and kind of see, well, man, you don't, because you really don't know. Whatever you do is wrong if you lose, right? So it's kind of funny actually. What do you think about it?
Yeah,
Because the campaign cannot keep saying, well, we were down, we were down. That's not going to last, but what, for a week before you have to stop saying it or whatever. And nobody wants to hear that. Really, it's just funny. You can't make excuses in the moment. But when you hear the campaign people actually start to break down what they were thinking and the timelines that they had, it's impressive. You won't get me to argue there. Very, very impressive to take those risks. You know what I mean? The timings and when you decide to go after something, and then just thinking about how you have to get things set up. And so man, you know what's so funny? We were talking about this already like months ago, which is just to do like the DNC takes a year to set up. They did it in 2 weeks or whatever. Stuff like that, where they have to basically transition this candidate's stuff and kind of overlay it over this new candidate stuff. But I'm gonna tell you this: if people were looking at it that way, people would probably have much less confidence. People on the outside kind of observing it probably would have had less confidence and would have been much more clear that it might be an impossibility, as close as the person may get, just because of how you have to convert everything over. And they were trying to make it seem like the problem with the people who are speaking for the left in the campaign area, they were trying to make it appear that things were easy. They were happening, boom, 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 and we got it. Which is, I guess, what you're supposed to do, fake it till you make it, right? But I wonder if they would have expressed the challenges of it. Is that too much of a negative to sort of explain to people a heavy lift, taking a 24-month or what about a 600-day, maybe a little bit more than that, maybe a little bit less than that time frame, and crunch it down and shrink it down into 100 days. And you gotta sleep, so.
I mean, there's no guarantees that even if she had a full year, 2 years,
we can't even have that conversation
with the well, that's
because
what
messages taking in and making transitions and moving. 2 years is so much time to make mistakes and change and flip flop and all type of stuff. Set narratives and the whole
environment gets changed. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that, like I said, that could have happened. But one of the things that I see is consistent, and I think that me and you, we differ on this. Remember, I was saying what I thought was a blocker. So whatever she said, it didn't penetrate to certain people because they saw her and what she so-called represented to them. It was impossible for the message to be received.
The left
So,
didn't believe.
Regardless, that too, bro.
It's not enough time to believe, probably.
That too, but I'm gonna speak about the left and the white left in just a minute. But I'm just saying, just the electorate, the voting public, from what I'm seeing, because some of the stuff that was pinpointed, right, as being the reasons why they voted a certain way, she was clearly talking about. Would you, right or wrong? Would you say that most of her pinpoint was housing, economic policies, trying to deal with people that was emotionally and economically stressed, dealing with Medicare as far as dealing with older people that you may have to take care of in your household, things of that nature, giving people that felt the strain of the economy being an issue, speaking directly to them about offering something that's going to gather them and pinpoint it and kind of gather relief. That message was not heard.
Sure, if you had 2 years, to deliver, and you had a president that could be out there fighting and talking about what he's done for the country, then sure.
Yeah, see, that's
reality is you have a massively failed candidate in Joe Biden going against a president who probably would have won if it wasn't for COVID, running and gunning for 4 years plus. Everyone knows what he stands for. Everyone knows what he believes, and he has likability and favorability over time of just being familiar with him, going up against a new person. I told people in August, and I had some dumbasses telling me on this other at this meeting that I went to, they were trying to tell me that that people know her because she's VP, and I'm like, that's not how it works. Unless you're already famous or something, it takes a certain amount of time for people to get used to you, get to know you, get familiar with you, and it's not 100 days. And matter of fact, doesn't even happen always in a year or two, because when people get to kind of learn your personality, kind of learn how you are, and can start to trust you, then they'll start making decisions at that point. But the stressed out voters, I'm impressed to lose, for Trump to only get 1.5% or 1.2% of the popular vote, and as the swing states are coming in, it's very marginal. All the numbers are pretty marginal, so it's impressive that you could do that much in 100 days. That's why I was saying more something to celebrate the loss than anything. Because if you give a person like her, if you give a person like her a primary again, and she can go up against other people, and people can choose her, I think it would have been a much different outcome. It's just so many little factors that voters need to trust you, to believe in you, to believe that they know you, on and on and on. So I mean, it's things that, like you said, the everyday it's not even important to people at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? But for me, it's fascinating just because you can sort of see how, technically speaking, the 100 days is just to get the campaign started. Does that make sense? Like, that's when you're just getting going. You just announce, hey, I'm gonna throw my hat into the ring. You know what I'm saying? But you start talking about her, and remember something. If you listen to her campaign people, one mistake I think they made, and I guess it's not a mistake because you just don't know, right? Is that you was trying to create something, which makes sense. You just can't do it in that short of a time frame. You know what I mean? So maybe I can start doing this.
But you said something that I don't want to be missed, is that the people that was campaigning, or that was on her campaign, they really didn't have full belief in her as a candidate. And I think it probably surprised them on a possibility of how even close that they got. Because when you look at everything,
when you're pretending, that's impressive. That's what I keep trying to tell you. It's impressive, right?
So we even, like I said, we was even surprised at how much momentum she gathered so quickly, as far as because of who she was and how people looked at her at that particular time, gathering that many people inside the bubble of a fractured party. It's clear the party is decentralized, it's fractured. There are a lot of different groups that do not agree on how to proceed, on how to deal with the problems that are basically out there in the public. Um, the Republicans have more of a singular message, like whoever's in charge, that's who we're following. Like, it's almost like it's okay. I have my own beliefs, but if this person is in charge, then we're following up under him, and that's just what it's going to be. It is more of a whoever the personality is, or the person that's in charge or that's ahead of the group. That's what we're doing. We're rocking with that, and they can have their own little fractions, but it's hard to kind of get into that. Hence the reason why. Hence the reason. Hence the reason. Hence the reason. Hence the reason. Hence the reason.
You try.
Hence the reason. No. Listen.
It takes time to coalesce your party. All the parties are fractured.
Listen.
That's a false left-wing narrative about the whole. Everybody in the Republican Party is in lockstep. That is not true.
I didn't say that. I did not say that. I did not say that.
MSNBC propaganda.
I said, dude, come on, man. I just said that basically people can have their viewpoints. They may not do certain things that they're not, they may not agree even. But if they break, dude, you got people in the so-called Democratic wing that was openly opposing the national candidate, opposing her. nationally. The
Yeah,
people that was doing that on the
you don't want to.
Republican, hold on.
You sure you want to have this conversation? I don't think you may be over your skis on this one. I'm gonna let you have it though. But
No, 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 no,
that's
no, 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 no.
nah,
Listen, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. There's a difference. There's a difference between the
different.
two
It's a different party. Of
because
course, it's different.
because 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 what I just said is the way people look at it. I'm not talking about the inside baseball stuff of people being totally inculcated into the system and they see the divisions and they know, yeah, I don't really rock with that person. Like there was a lot of that stuff with Matt Gates and all that kind of stuff. He got done in by his own. I mean, a lot of them people they said, no, that's a little too. We can't do that. We can't do that. I know that's inside
Well,
baseball to where they
he's
forced
a
him to
child
do stuff
molester,
bad.
and unfortunately, a lot of
But
men like messing
compare
with
that.
children. So for some reason, he has some kind of support, which is still crazy to me. It's crazy.
But I'm saying there are people that was in there saying we're not going to vote. We're not going to be able to get him through.
How are you
Right.
voting
So
for a
so
child molester?
that's what I'm saying.
This is crazy.
I'm trying to tell you the difference between the two. And we already talked about it. Like I said, man, a lot of the people that supported Kamala, a lot of the people that ended up supporting her, what did they do as soon as she lost? What did they do? What did they end up doing, bro? We talked about it. What did they do so fast after she lost? What did they do? Bernie Sanders? We talking about people that was like really saying that, oh, I'm really, really support. They're saying all the things that you just said. Weak party, weak this, weak that, failed candidate, all this other stuff. This is not no
No, I didn't
MSNBC
say
type
she
of
was a
thing.
failed candidate. I said Biden is a
I
failed
know.
candidate.
I know. Listen. I know you
What I'm
didn't say
saying is
that,
this.
but what I'm saying is there is no equivalent to that.
No,
Like as
no. I'm
much
saying they're
as
different
much.
parties in my opinion, but do both have to get a hold on the party. My point is that what people are missing out is that no one can get a hold of a party in 100 days, Republican or Democrat. That's all I'm saying. If Biden he's not in control. He's not in charge. So he's not even maintaining himself to be able to control the party. That's why it's chaos. He's a weak candidate. He drops out. There's chaos. That's all I'm saying. If Trump drops dead tomorrow, it's chaos. You see what I'm saying? Like that's all I'm trying to say. And so it would take any candidate, especially unknown, like Barack Obama or somebody, especially somebody unknown. It takes time for them to coalesce the party. That's all I'm saying. Doesn't matter if everybody hates the person or not. As you keep talking and you keep getting support and you're building that support up over a year, year and a half, 2 years or whatever, they will start to coalesce. You'll make deals. You'll have meetings. You can't do anything in 100 days. It's an impossibility. And it
The
was still
time
impressive.
frame. The time
But you
frame
need
alone.
time to. I've seen it. We've seen it. We've seen 20 elections. We've seen it too many times. I mean, it's
The
very
time
obvious
frame.
that you have to have the time to make sure everybody's good in your party. We're on the same page. You're talking to people. You're working with people. I
Right.
mean, on and on and on and on. No, I mean that's just basic. It's just basic 101, really.
The time frame. The
But
time
from a
frame of
media
everything.
perspective, when you're trying to push clicks and views, that's when you start just jumping out the window saying all type of stupid, ridiculous stuff. Even Bill Maher, it was plenty of time. That's what dumb pundits say all the time, right? Because they're just trying to
No,
get,
that's crazy.
they're just trying to run a narrative. But
No,
when you
no,
really
no, that's
look
crazy.
at it, understand it, it takes time. Everyone knows, but you can't have a rational conversation on TV shows and on a lot of, you know what I'm saying, right? It doesn't sell. Is the whole point. So that's a whole other issue at the end of the day. But if you sit down and think about it, you clearly know that when you're just like when you're doing, that's the whole point of the primaries. The primaries are chaos, right? And we're trying to prove who can win Iowa, who can win this, who can do this, who can do that. And then it's like, okay, we're gonna get on board with the person. But then at that point, you're still mad. But months go by, right? Hundreds of days go by, and you're working with them. And then at some point, from what I've seen over time, people bend the knee at some point. But I think it just takes time to do that. That's all I'm saying. And I could be wrong, but it just
No, I
seems
just
like that
think.
to me.
Yeah, I'm. The time part was definitely a detriment to the campaign overall. It hurt her, no doubt about that. What I was saying to you was that once it was announced that Biden was going to step down, there were a very significant portion of the party that did not want Kamala to run. That's it. Or if they did, they wanted it to be a open and fight for all primary. And we talked about that. There was not enough time for that. Not the way the people wanted it. Not to run it
Bro,
and
that's
then
a
have
whole
it.
different conversation.
But that's what I'm trying. That's what I'm trying to tell
That's a
you,
whole
bro.
different
Like
conversation.
a lot of people think that
Like
these
I
things.
told you before, Kamala saved the Democratic Party actually. But again, that's a different conversation. We want to have that, but she
Go
saved the
ahead and
party.
go ahead. I wasn't going to even bring that up because I know how people view that, but go ahead and explain your logic on that. Why would you say she saved the party? How did you
What
come
you,
to that
what you
conclusion?
just said, you wasn't going to do a primary. That was ridiculous. Joe Biden had a monumental collapse. They covered up him being sick probably for the last 2 years. She's complicit in it as well, and it's fine. Protect the president. You're the VP, etc. And I think that they had to come to that decision and say, to hold the party together, we're going to have to run her, win or lose. We're going to do our best. But if we do not do that, we might, like I was telling you before, you may not win another election in a sense, right? Over the next few cycles, you might have lost 20 or 30 House seats. You may have lost 10 or 20 Senate seats. It could have been a complete disaster down ballot because again, it's going to be scandal, right? So when did y'all know Joe Biden was? You see what I'm saying? If you run the what I was telling you, when you run that, if you did a primary, you're going to have rogue people running for office, and they're going to expose the president. They're going to expose the Democratic Party. They're going to expose themselves in the wake of it. But depending on how progressive they are, they want to destroy the party anyway. When you think about it, and so to me, she stabilizes that environment. She cleans it all up. They close it up. It stays quiet. Joe Biden is still president, by the way. Because remember something, they would have 25th Amendment. They would have did a 25th Amendment. It would have been crazy, bro. Trust and believe me. July and August would have been insane. Kamala might become the president. They didn't demoralize Joe Biden. Now you're talking about going into election under that scenario, and then say she doesn't run or she doesn't win the primary, but she is the president, and now we got Pete Buttigieg or somebody else trying to. We could just talk about that for days, by the way. My point is just to try to keep it as simple as I can. It would have been a disaster. Kamala comes in, professional, clean, a pretty clean Democrat, progressive, obviously leaning more to the left. They tightened it all up. They cleaned it all up. They made her a centrist, and they ran it within 100 days. It's impressive.
And they ran it.
And guess what? In 2 years, you lost what? 6 House seats, 3 Senate seats. You kept everything else. We could make a small argument and say, well, Trump picked up a few numbers here and there, but that's all really in flux, right? Because today is not 2 years.
You barely lose the House. You barely lose the House. You barely lose the Senate, which means that you can easily flip both in 2 years.
It would have been one of the worst things in American history. Actually,
it would have been like basically trying to sew up a dead body or somebody that's dying on a gurney.
That means what, DC? Russia. I'm gonna tell you what happens. Russia moves in on Ukraine. Iran moves on Israel. China moves in on Taiwan. The stock market sells off 10,000 off the Dow, off the top within 1 day. I'm talking about chaos. So who cares about one election? At the end of the day, you're trying to protect the party. Now, by the way, no one is saying what I'm saying. This is my own thing. This is not. No one's talking. This is not a thing out there. But this is just something. If you really think about it, it's the only thing that makes sense in so many different ways. And it's better to clean it all up, keep it quiet, run her, win or lose, win great, lose cool, no problem, no sweat. Things keep rolling. He stays president. He hands off the baton to Trump. Trump runs 2 years. You try to pick up a couple of House seats to put more pressure on him, and life goes on. And we never think about this anymore, like COVID in a sense, right? We just move on.
And now, instead of a chaotic turn at the next Democratic convention, but if she decides to run again or not,
she's going to run.
You have a stabilized party. You have a party that has they're fractured, but they understand. I'm talking about people that's in the know. They understand what is basically what it basically means.
It's all organized. Like people aren't even
Right.
people. Anyway, I don't have to
That's what
give
I'm trying.
everybody all the
That's
information, but
right. But that's what I'm saying. Like
people keep
without
watching
getting
TV and
too
getting the information, enjoy it.
right, without getting too up to what I'm saying is that
I don't
there's
even know
something
how organized this stuff is. To be honest with you, it's kind of funny actually.
right. There is something about keeping something healthy and learning to leaning into fighting another day. It's cool.
Yes,
You
and
don't have to.
they
You
put
don't
on
have
a phenomenal show, bro. I think the Democrats did a phenomenal job. If you when you really tear it down and the way it could have went, the way it probably should have went, possibly even to clean some things up, but the job you did to be able to stabilize and keep things. Remember, you have a dead president. That's all. That's all. That's the only lens you need to be looking at it through. You have a president who's incapacitated. That is a major problem for an empire. So
right.
to be able to clean that up, to not, inflation shoots back up, gas prices go crazy, food prices go
Right.
crazy, chaos in the streets, it's chaos
Right.
overseas because now we look like we're unstable for maybe a month or two. It has to get restabilized. Do you think the Republican Party in every state
Right.
is not gonna hammer? And I mean, it's gonna be a bloodbath at the election. It would have been the greatest thing in history, by the way. In American history, it would have been the greatest. And it's never gonna happen. It doesn't exist. It's all
Yeah.
good, all clean, and everyone can set their narratives and just do what they're doing now, right?
Right.
Oh, it's because of this. Oh, it's
Right.
because of that.
Like,
Oh, this, blah 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 blah.
like a lot.
Yeah, and
And then you have
most of the dummies in the world just go along with whatever they say, and that's that, right? Things keep moving.
let them have their opinions, man. But I tell you,
And I will say this though. Now on the now from the political part of it, unfortunately, I think because Joe Biden didn't give enough time, you couldn't really set and sort of even push. Even when you look at his infrastructure bill, right? And he's doing the what is it called? The EV stuff, right? What is it? NIEV, National Electrical Vehicle, something. I forget what it is, right? It's a $8 billion venture that he passed under the infrastructure bill. Even if you look at that and how amazing that is, it just
which
didn't have time to set and it
Elon
hadn't
Musk is
set.
on board
But
on.
they ran propaganda against it. Trump probably said it 50 times. They spent $7 billion on six stations or something, whatever it is, right?
But Elon Musk
Stuff
is
like
on
that.
board with that.
All
But
ridiculous.
Elon Musk, I'm saying, but Elon Musk is on board for that bill, bro. That
I mean, yeah,
you know,
it's good for him, yeah, for sure.
yeah, I mean, that's
I'm
I'm
just
not.
making a point that there was so much. You have to be very good at propaganda and taking certain positions based off the climate of the society. When you listen to her campaign people speak, they're very very smart. Clearly, they're very smart.
Yes.
They clearly know what they're doing. They know how to set it all up and go, and you make your bets. But I do feel like when you really, I told you, I'm gonna probably watch that thing like 5 times. By the way, I'm already on my second watch because I'm trying to understand how they develop a candidate. That was very important to them. It's like, okay, we have to create this candidate,
Yes.
and then I want to try to break down
In the mind of the people too. Did you hear
huh?
how they were saying that we need to create her in the mind of the voter elector or in
Yes.
the mind of the people?
So that we've been talking
Right.
about for 3 months, of course. Yes. Yeah, of course. I just don't. I just think that when you start to analyze what they were saying, maybe we should play some of it. I don't know, but when you analyze what they were saying, trying to capture a national audience, and you're making certain decisions, you're gonna miss a lot. And the right is gonna exploit the position all day, every day. Right? What's the weak side? You go to split position. You're gonna cook all day, right? You're gonna cook all day. And so, what do you know? There's nothing you can do about it, and you can't talk about it real time out loud, obviously, right? But they knew they were getting killed in certain positions. Now, should she have stuck to some of her real beliefs? I think maybe, but I'm money quarterbacking that, right? But the more I think about it, going against a unique candidate like Trump, I wonder if they would explain some things more. But I think I can tell that they told her not to do certain things, unfortunately. But I think if she was able to explain some of her position a little bit better, be more honest about it, forthright, and believe in what she believes, and I think it would have went over better. But it's so risky. It's just you don't have any time to clean it up. Think about this, right? If she made one mistake, what people don't understand is, which I find it kind of funny, and I was waiting for it, by the way, because I said if she makes one mistake, if she says the wrong thing one time, that's all they're going to be talking about to the end of the. I mean, like it's going to because it's not enough time for it to cycle through and to get through it.
You're not talking about the little mistakes. You're talking about the
everybody makes little mistakes.
Yeah, you're not talking about like a little, misspoke about something or trying to get her back on the fracking deal. No, we're talking about where clearly there was something that was said that was going to attack her voting base.
Yeah.
Or kind of reverse field on exactly what she was basically trying to stand on.
Yeah,
I mean, they tried to get her.
Bro. It would have easily they don't have enough time to cycle through it.
Right. They tried to get her to disavow Biden. They tried to get her to do certain things. She found a comfortable space, but it did come off. It still that wasn't enough to.
If she disavows Joe Biden, she's going to get investigated, bro. If she can't do it, it's all fake talk. It's all fake talk. They're trying to protect the president hard to stop. Anybody else talking about doing certain things is bullshit. It's not real. It's not. It doesn't work like that.
Well, I think the most
period.
I think the most important thing is what you said. When you look at it from a party's perspective and protecting the brand to a degree.
Yeah, it ain't
I am doing my best to win. There's a good possibility that I may win, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we need to stabilize this. We need to stabilize the party to a degree.
They did so good that everybody forgot about it. How about that? That's what I'm trying to tell you. Is that these dummies are so busy talking about all type of stuff, where the money come from and who did what. I said, only thing I kept seeing was, man, I guess nobody know that Joe Biden is a dead man walking, huh? And the presidency is not being protected right now. Nobody's like it's not even happening. It's like we just worried about Kamala's the president now, right? Remember she's in charge. Does people know that VPs are backup quarterbacks, right? They're just there, maybe sometime. They're not around and they don't make decisions. It's insanity. But they did a phenomenal job, even though I could tell you it could be a mistake, but you only had 100 days, but did a phenomenal job of making it appear that she was making decisions. And of course, the Republicans is not going to stop you from making an argument. Now, if he was a phenomenal president and then maybe he passed away, then at that point they'd be saying, well, she's just a VP. She don't do anything. You see what I'm saying? That's how that works, right? It's kind of funny, actually. But because it was a weak candidacy and she had to stay tied to it, then they were all in on saying, yeah, Kamala was making decisions too. See, VPs don't, man, bro. It's so hilarious when you hear it's so hilarious when people believe stuff like that. And you can't control that, of course, right? The media has the power, of course.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's funny. It's funny. It's funny. Like you said, it's unfortunate because if you have sick, like I told you before, very great stuff. Even with Joe Biden, if you're on the left and you're talking about we're trying to help you have cheaper insulin, I mean, it's just so many things, bro. It's so many things. And it shows you how important it is to have the time to really touch people and get to people. It just because even though you might support certain cultural things that the right has been cooking on for 10 years at this point, you still have enough that you're doing that help people that the right will never do. That I know that you need time for it to penetrate, in my opinion. By the way, for young people to vote, for Trump to pick up numbers for young people, I thought was funny because I said, didn't Joe Biden give all y'all money back for going to school? And the right was able to spin it and say, well, I don't want to be just some working class guy and I got to pay for your college. Lord. I said, boy, they good, boy. They don't give you no space. And I felt like the Democrats didn't have a good response to a lot of that stuff. And like I said, it just wasn't enough. I got to tell you, it just wasn't enough time to counter all those. They were coming from everywhere, bro. You know, if you was watching everything on the right, bro, it was just shots being fired from every direction, in my opinion.
That's what I'm
the
saying.
Democrats did a piss. They was not prepared, and I don't still know why.
It's not. But Paradox, I'm trying to tell you, bro. And you notice, people were not all in on that. People were not all in on her, bro.
I know.
That's why.
I know.
When you got a blitzkrieg and there's support, there's a difference when the team
each other with 100 days, with 30 days of y'all still debating about it. How is that possible? You know.
That's what I'm trying to say, man.
The raging Cajun. He's still contemplating with 30 days left. He on there with a bunch of Democrats contemplating. I was like, y'all got to be kidding me right now.
Listen, man. It's a we talked about it offline more so than online. But at the end of the day,
go back down that road, but it's just funny because we've been talking about it for so much. I guess it's just kind of sitting there, really, right?
Yeah, because what I want people to understand is that what I mean when I say that there was a disentanglement within the party. I spoke about this even really like when the debate happened, and then I saw how everybody reacted. Instead of gathering together to strengthen it, there was opportunity that people saw to break it down and to get their little feel in, and then to basically recycle this thing into something else. It would have been a disaster, like you said, Kamala in for the win and trying to like save the party overall. Because if they got their way and did it the way that they wanted to do it, then this could have been houses flipped. The money would have been kind of dried up. Nobody getting support in certain areas. It would have been chaos, like you said. Chaos would have been bad. And the fact
the Republicans would have exploited it.
Would of course, that's what you should do. especially when you have the propaganda arm, which is the media right now. They have the advantage. There's an advantage there. And even attacking the media from that standpoint and then being the media arm is even more so the advantage. So you're attacking the media, but you're using the media also to get your message out.
Like you said, Democrats are nasty, and I'm not talking about the everyday Democrat, but a lot of the pundits are nasty because they ran away. Like you said, after the election, it was very disappointing. And they're talking.
What did you keep saying to me every day? You was just saying like, "Yo, you sending me video after video of people doing what? People doing what? I mean, people doing. I mean, and you know what's so crazy about it? These people that said that they were all out on Trump. They didn't want him. This, and that, other. Like they acting like they were going to vote. I don't even think that some of these people even voted for this woman. That's how bad it got. When you really look at the inside of this, they're satisfied. They're satisfied that she did what she did as far as being able to stabilize the party, even though they don't acknowledge that. They're satisfied that it's still healthy enough to where they can make a successful run at it in 2028 as far as a national, and then a good run at it in 2026. A healthy enough run. It opens up the floodgates and keeps everything stabilized to where everybody can get a good free run at this thing, and everybody's can still get their points across. That's what she did, by the way.
But the other issue is this though, and the reason why this was probably one of the best elections in our lifetime is that the Democrats and their Republican friends who are never Trumpers. People in the party.
Yeah, come on, man.
I honestly think that they're okay with the victory because it allows them to move more to the right. because the way they're talking, I can play you at least 100, 200 videos. I mean, hundreds of hours of Democrats uh, who are talking as if maybe we should get some of what they got. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that doesn't sound right. And so were y'all thinking this the entire time? I mean, you feel like, because it's almost like they're saying we don't like where the party is anyway. And so since we
Right.
lost, this gives us a great opportunity to move the party back to the right because we actually want to be closer to them. That's what was shocking to me.
Right.
Shocking, bruh.
Right.
And to this day, I'm still not seeing. I take it back. I gotta dig deep to find it. It's out there, but I'm still not really seeing people saying we reject all of it. When I don't care who won, this is what I believe in, and that's the
Mhm.
end of it. I'm not seeing that almost at all. It's almost like I'm glad they won. Woof, boy, this is a relief.
Mhm.
You know, so this opens the door for us to attack progressives and
Yep.
attack people who are leaning more to the left, who are maybe center, who are still leaning to the left, even from the center, of the party. It seems very strange because you should be more activated, not less activated, unless you're kind of. Oh, and this not about her, by the way. It's just being opportunistic. It's a moment in time where, oh man, we can get a chance to sort of get rid of some of this stuff. And by the way, the day after, they started saying it. I was like,
Yep.
what?
Yep.
We need to get this, and we need to do this, and we need to make sure we get more in contact with these. I'm like,
Yep.
no, you don't agree with no. That just makes no sense. And so that stuff like that, like you said, is
You start hearing stuff
is a
like
little surprising.
you start hearing stuff like we need to start talking to, Middle America
It's
again.
ridiculous.
What are you talking
It's ridiculous.
about? What do you mean? What do you mean by
All
that?
your policies are for the middle America. Everything you're doing, what are you
Yeah,
doesn't
like
make any. You're making it
yeah.
up.
That doesn't but I'm just saying that's what I said
It's
about the
ridiculous.
blocker. But the blocker is also outside about what it represents at the time. If you cycle in her, and then that means coming forward, you got Westmore coming. You got a lot of people coming. Warnock coming. What does that mean? You got
They
and
do
these
not want
people
Warnock, and they do not want governor
Westmore.
of Maryland.
Actually, I mean, just
Democrats,
that.
if you are a black person,
Listen,
you're a Democrat. I'm going
listen.
to tell you right now, these white folks hate you, and they have exposed you, and they have left you all out on the island all by yourself. And if you don't believe me, go do your research. I'm not going to do it to you today, DC. I'm gonna be cool with it, but it's nasty. That's all I'm gonna say. I mean, it's bad. It's bad, bro. And I heard from a very powerful black uh um person today that's in the party, and I won't bring it up right now. But some of the things they said today, I was impressed by, but they're trapped in the party. So it's kind of a funny thing that they kind of got honest about it. And I think I sent you one of those actually. They got honest about it. They got honest about it, but then you realize like, I mean, you talk about it all the time, right? Where do we go? What do we do? It's like, you know what's so funny though? It did make me. I meant to tell you this too. It did give me more clarity on your. It did give me clarity on why you say what you say. By the way, to hear those people co-sign basically what you've been saying, obviously forever, was pretty funny because it made to hear like multiple people say it at the same time, kind of collectively.
It needs to be said. It needs to be said on air. It needs to be said loud. I'm gonna tell that person that. We're not gonna bring it up, but I'm gonna tell that person that. By the way, in pride, I'm gonna make sure that message is conveyed to that person, to where they know, because this is the thing.
It makes
Because
me
in
mad,
my
of course, because people they do know, which is what I'm more impressed by the way, that this election sort of
no,
forced the hand of a lot of people to
yeah,
confess some things.
yeah.
I love it though,
If you
because I
the
knew I wasn't
reason
crazy. By the way, they just
paradox,
proved that I'm not
paradox,
crazy.
paradox. What did I say? Do you want racism 1.0 or do you want racism 2.0? The reason why racism can hide itself in liberal fractions is because you got the so-called blatant racism of the right that they can point at and basically use that as energy to say, hey, don't look at me. Don't look at me. Look at these people over here. Look what they doing. They all this and it's legitimate. But see, the fact of it is that they keep all of that energy off of them and they subvert. And it's both sides, right? So if you look at the left, right, that is where they hide all of their racism. And then when you look at the left, I'm talking about white people in particular, the people that's in charge, that's really in charge of this thing. And then when you look at the left, they hide the right hide all this sexual decency, so they're pouring into each other. It's like a cup of bullshit, right? And you have two sets. You got to balance out both sets. We can't hold both, right? So I gotta feed into whatever's going to be your biggest fear, and I gotta energize my group over here to do what they're going to do, and it just be like a base level, So if they're going to use black people as their base level in the support base of the Democratic Party in the fraction, and then point out racism, but not really trying to attack and identify what the true issue is, right? They just keep kind of subverting it onto the other group because that's where it's blatant at, just like the sexuality thing, right? When there's LGBTQ people running all over the place in red states and in that particular party. It's clear at very high levels, by the way, very high levels. And you have that hitting on the red on the right, and you have the racism thing that's hitting on the left. They feed into each other and they blend each other, make this kind of this nasty kind of concoction where people are stuck because it's like, what is important to you? What is going to drive you to really see things for what they are, and how close can you get to kind of pushing someone to get your people that you care about closer to having a better lifestyle in the country that we live in right now? Because fundamentally, the country is not going to change until there's a certain thing that has to happen here. That's a whole different kind of conversation. But fundamentally, the country is built on what it's built on. It stands on what it stands on, and that's just solid. That's just what it's going to be. Once you deal with that base level, then you can kind of understand everything else from there. You don't have to really go into talking about it. But if you're going to use all these other excuses and stuff like that, then I mean, come on, man. Like, yeah, I'm glad that they got honest. They were drinking too, but they were drinking. Yeah, they were
Yeah,
drinking
they were
too.
drinking.
But I mean, but that's neither here nor there.
And
But what I'm
truth.
saying is, yeah, what I'm saying is that
Well, people.
you I'm saying,
That's why I mean
but
you don't
if
just
you if
saying,
you're there,
oh,
but I'm saying if you there and you scapegoating these people when they're in your face, I mean, don't do that. Just be like, do what Eddie Glaude did. Just be like, look, I don't believe you. You gotta just tell her that.
no,
I
Eddie
don't
took
I
a
don't
stand.
believe you to your
He took
face.
a stand.
I don't believe you.
He took a stand.
I just don't believe you, man. I hear what you're saying. You just talking because at the end of the day, the numbers bear it out. It doesn't. You're saying me. You're
Numbers
telling
don't
me this.
lie.
You're telling me this, and you're telling me people that are very economically comfortable, by the way, doing a certain thing, and you're telling me that it's this, and it just doesn't make any sense.
No, I
You
think
know.
that's why I always say I think people should probably be more independent. Don't allow either party to use you just based off of your life circumstances. You just you make a decision on who you want to pick as an individual person. Because the other stuff about voting blocks and third parties and coming together, that's just I think it's not a real conversation, honestly, at this point. So if everybody, unless you're a part of an organization, then of course you vote with your organization, of course. But if you're not a part of that and you're just an independent person doing your own thing, you vote for what you believe will benefit you the most. Either if you look at your future when you get older and you want to do things that maybe support you there because your finances maybe not be the best and you don't have any prospects coming up over your lifetime, and you say, you know what, I want to make sure the safety net is as strong as possible. Don't care about debts and deficits and who's gonna pay for it. I'm supporting anyone who wants to make that stronger, right? And on the flip side, if it's for something else, whatever it might be that's impacting you maybe in that moment, then you may vote that way as well. And I'm that to me, I think that that's better than getting caught up in a lot of the other nonsense. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you have crime in your neighborhood, I'm not gonna get caught up in racial stuff, statistics, and stats or anything. I need more protection. Who's giving me that? Okay, I'm going with that one. I don't need all the history and consciousness or anything. I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying? Like that to me should be possibly an easier thing to deal with when instead of you having to be a part of something, demands are put on you. You're being responsible for things as a group, and you're not even really together in that kind of way for that type of stuff really at the end of the day. And what I mean by that is you're not in charge of the party, as far as I know. Maybe some people in the back end, can move some people and organize and get some things pushed through. Of course, that does exist. But overall, I know who gets the money, and who gets the money. And we get about 2-3% of that money. So knowing that, what will be the point for you to use me? How about you don't have to worry about it. I fall into whatever category I fall into. I'm just voting on what I personally can get. But we're not obviously not pushing that. But me and you've been saying that for how long? Vote your interest forever, right?
Man, people.
Do it based off of circumstances, your family circumstances, or if you want to even do it for the society. If you believe in wanting to get rid of pollution and things of that nature, then obviously which way you would vote in that moment in time, depending on what they're telling you. I think that's more interesting at the end of the day, honestly, than being trapped as I'm a black person or I'm a white person and I'm supposed to do this, this, and this, and I'm supposed to do this, and it's going to be the end of the world for me, and all that other. And I'm not gonna bring the YouTube channel up right now, but on 1 minute it makes sense, and then on another minute, if you watch it long enough, you start getting put in these categories and what they gonna do to us and all this other stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that needs to go, man. To truly be honest, it needs to go. To be honest with you, because you don't have the power that you're pretending that you have. Your ego is much bigger than it should be. That's why I'm saying that, by the way.
Right. Would you mind dropping the link, because I think that I don't know, like these people, man, these folks. I really need to get some things straight. If you want to, man,
I'm good.
I know
I'm
that
good,
you
bro.
don't.
I'm just trying to talk politics, man. I don't care about the chat. It's just a chat.
You don't understand, man. Like people use our channel, our information for their content.
I know, but
That's what I'm saying. So like if
we use
it's
each
like
other
a
though. All the channels
situation,
use each other though, right? I mean,
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If
Fox
you,
News or
I
whatever.
know you don't care. I know you don't care about it, but to me, because I don't like my words to be misappropriated, I want people to ask me directly on what they think what I'm saying, that they think they hear what I'm saying. I really want them to kind of like approach me. And I'm not trying to make you look bad or chop your head off or stuff like that. I'm trying to make sure that you have an understanding about where I come from. Your opinion is your opinion, but your opinion don't make it fact or any of those things. In fact, give me like 10 minutes, man. Give me like 10 minutes, bro. You give me like 10 minutes, Paradox? Give me like 10 minutes, bro.
Do what you
do. Look, man. This is this is something that I want it to be crystal clear. Crystal clear. The reason that me and Paradox and T even started to even do this or have a channel is because we had conversations privately amongst ourselves, man, about different things, and that we decided, hey, man, we're not hearing this or people talk in this kind of manner. So I think it would be good if we can be online to talk about this. We're not here to try to convert, gather your money, build some kind of group setting where people are following us and stuff like that. If you like the program, so what? If you don't like the program, so what? Get informed and do what you do. Period. A lot of this stuff, man, is just us trying to really talk amongst me and him basically at this point when we deal with some of these issues, and we think that it would be good just to share some of our perspectives. But as far as trying to prove a point, go up against somebody, this and that other, and try to prove who's wrong, who's right, that's not what it was, man. I've already came forward and said, hey, look, about the election, I was wrong. I admitted that already. I admitted that during the same night. We had a whole program about that. It's not a big deal. Not to me, because some of the things that came up that we talked about all the time reared its ugly head. So it still doesn't change the factors that was in play for me as far as understanding the way the government works in this country. That's it. That's all. Um, Paradox. I know you don't want to drop the link, but I would say this, man, and I'm gonna be done with it. I know that there was some kind of concern about us disrespecting me, in particular, disrespecting um, Brother Art's channel. Listen, man, I've already spoken to Art. I've spoken to Art directly about when I had that situation over there. I told him, bro, I never meant to disrespect his channel. We even chopped it up online talking about it. There is no beef between me and Art. There is no beef between me and Officer Charles Faulkner. There's no beef, really. To be honest with you, there should not be any beef between me and BGS, AB Media, any of these guys, because at the end of the day, you guys have your point of view as far as how life is basically gone, and I have my point of view. Those things don't have to, just because whatever you believe in, I don't really rock with. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. And if you don't rock with what our views are over here, or what my views are over here, then that's perfectly fine too. You don't have to be here. You don't have to listen. It's just that simple. There doesn't have to be this kind of back and forth about what somebody's saying, that this and that other. None of that stuff has to be here, man. Not at all. And I hope you guys can basically go elsewhere and do your thing. Trust me. Don't go on your channels. I don't have no, like I said, I don't have no reason to be all involved in whatever you guys are doing, this and that other. Godspeed. If you want to be on that type of time, then that's it. If our information crosses things of that nature, and if we have a disagreement, then that's fine too. But it's not the end of the world. Me and Paradox, we disagree all the time. But that's my homie. That's my man. We keep it moving. There is no issue. Trust me, no issue. This is just politics, man. And I just want that on the record. On the record. I do not have any beef with anybody. I do not owe anybody any apologies. If that is what is basically being stated. Period. End of story. There is no fear, no kind of ducking or dodging, any of that nature. That is not in our spirit over here, bro. My man just don't, we don't, he don't want to do the whole back and forth thing. So I respect that. That's not what our channel was built for. So you guys could just take that elsewhere, man. You don't have to come here and listen. If you disagree on that level, if you believe what somebody else believes that's totally opposite about what we're saying over here, if whatever we're saying doesn't make sense to you, then go where it makes sense to you. Go there. You don't have to be here. Period. So that's it, man. I think I'm done. I think I gave my spill on that, man. I gave that a little bit. 10 minutes of my time, man. I'll probably never get back, man, and that's still gonna probably be misunderstood, as I said it. So hopefully, hopefully that is basically understood, man. That hopefully that's understood. Period. But nah, we can continue, man. You want to drop some videos and kind of go over some videos, man, or you good to go? Since we kind of like just getting back into the swing of things. Paradox. Can you hear me? Oh, you did drop the link. Oh, okay. So yeah, so if anybody want to come up and have a discussion, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so anybody want to come up and have a discussion, um, please feel free to click the link. And if you want to ask me some questions directly, because I know you guys want to talk your stuff, so ask me directly, man. Ask your questions directly and respectfully. I will answer. I don't have no problem with doing that at all. Please feel free to come on down. But yeah, man, I think that yeah, I think that person that you were talking about, when I saw that, I said, man, you know what? Finally, if they could just be a little bit more honest about that, really in the spaces that they're in, that would change a little bit of the narrative. It doesn't change anything on the ground, I think, as far as the voting electorate because of the country, but I think a lot of a lot of what happened here, man, was just a cycle. The cycle's in, the cycle's out. This country is center left, center right. When it pulls too far to the left, there's a swing aggressively to kind of balance it back out. And when it swings too far to the right, it swings back the other way. That seems to be kind of like the history of this country. So out of always get wise. So there's a lot of different reasons why that is, in my opinion. But that's a whole nother story though, by the way, when you look at the electorate and how people view elections. Because I think statewide and local, people pretty much do vote their interest statewide and local. You see it across the board. Very, very so-called states that like nationwide are looked upon as being red or like flaming Republican. A lot of them have very, very powerful Democrats in powerful positions in some of these states. So, and vice versa. Same thing with in some of the so-called Democratic strongholds. They have very powerful Republicans in those particular positions, statewide and local. So it just depends, man. It just depends on where you at. You. I think I see Mike. You up? Yep.
Yo, yo.
What up? What up? What up? What's good, man? What you got to say, bro?
Oh man, I'm chilling, man. I just was checking the link, make sure it worked. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, man. Deb's got a lot of got some work to do. Come January. You still got Senate races coming up in 2026. You do have congressional seats that's going to be back up in 2027. So there's still some internal work that needs to be done. And then you still have gubernatorial races that's going to be coming up in 2026, 2027 as well. So they're going to have to do some reshuffling there. Gavin Newsom is going to be up, and then you got Wes Moore doing his rerun as well. And then you also have the Georgia race for the governor's seat as well. Then you also have Michigan. So you have quite a few seats that's going to be coming back up. New York has a gubernatorial race coming up at that same time as well. So does Massachusetts. And so there's going to be a lot of maneuvering going on. Um, and I think that Dems have a lot of wiggle room to play with in regards to restructuring the party from post Kamala, post Biden. Um, However, you know, Republicans still control those houses, those House seats, and those Senate seats. So before we can even get to those seats and those sort of races, we got to figure out at the state level where folks want to be at, and so that's going to be that's going to be a heavy lift for them before you even get to the to the POTUS and some of the Senate and congressional seats. You really have a lot of internal workings that have to go down first, and so I'll be interested in seeing what happens. But I imagine whoever's going to take over the DNC. I mean, they're saying Rahm Emanuel. I'm not really all that enthusiastic about Rahm Emanuel taking over. I think that Stacey Abrams should be in that position. If we go back to 2020, Stacey Abrams delivered 2 Senate seats, Warnock and Ossoff. Ossoff seat's going to be coming up next year as well. And she delivered Biden and Kamala. Those are and out of all of that came Ketanji Brown Jackson, and then you have CQ Brown, and then you have a lot of other Black people who are moved into some very high-ranking positions that were never there before. And so, I think Stacey doesn't get a lot of credit for the work that she has done on the ground, getting people registered to vote, 1.5 million people, and then delivering a key battleground swing state for Democrats in 2020, and so same thing in 2022 as well. I think that she had delivered a lot in the midterm, so she doesn't get a lot of credit, but she does. She should get that DNC chair if I had any say in that.
Well, the fact that she created the infrastructure in Georgia during the time that she created it in is very, very impressive. I think that she can copy that in certain southern, strongholds like North Carolina, since it's so close to Georgia. If you could duplicate some of the wins that she basically have gotten for Georgia in some of those states that can be had, if you're thinking from the Democratic side of it, then yeah, that would be something that I would look into as far as making her the head chair. But I don't know if you think she'd be interested in doing that.
I don't know if she'd be interested in it, but I think it's the right position for her. She knows how to organize. She knows how to raise a lot of money. Um, and she's not afraid to, she has good public engagement skills. Rahm Emanuel has a lot of, baggage coming from Chicago. And so I don't know if he would be the right person, for that role, and see, I think that's part of the problem with Democrats is bringing these old, tired people who don't really have any added value to the party, putting them in positions that the rest of the party really doesn't really care for it, and that the base really frowns at. And I think that was the problem with Biden, is that his approval ratings slightly before the debate were around that 40 something percent mark, around 41, 42%. And so there was some sirens going off that they should have paid attention to, but they didn't actually listen. Or maybe he didn't listen. I don't know how that necessarily works between POTUS and the rest of the party apparatus, but either he didn't listen or people within the party didn't listen. But we are where we are. I mean, post-mortem doesn't really matter at this point. But I definitely think that running a white man on a ticket at this point doesn't really gather the base like they think it does. People do want to see diversity at the top. Now, whether or not that was Kamala, I don't, that's neither here nor there. But they do want to see a different sort of candidate, for one, and two, they want somebody that's going to be pulling to the left, and that's what the Gaza thing was about, right? How Gaza was a litmus test for where you are on the left. Are you to the middle? Are you on the left, or are you beyond the left, right? Or are you further to the left of the left itself? And I think Gaza was to the left of the left, and I don't think that she could go that far, right? So she was to the left of Biden. Biden was to the left of Trump for the most
Yeah,
part, and so the base is saying, hey, we want more than what you're talking about. And they did not necessarily, they couldn't capitulate to what the base was demanding. It wasn't just about student loans, and it wasn't just about the price of eggs and milk. They wanted some real definitive, hard lines as to where are you on the left. And I don't think that she could really meet that. And Tim Walz, although he was governor and he did a lot of necessary and great things as governor, um, he couldn't move that far to the left either. And I don't know if you can actually find a candidate right now in the party that's going to meet those demands. Trump is to the right of where the normal party of the Republican establishment was, which is why he was able to clean up house in 2016 against those individuals on stage, Jeb Bush, Rubio, all those folks. It was easy for him because he didn't play by the same set of rules. And so he kind of broke all the rules and broke all the fine china in the Republican China shop, and they didn't know how to respond to that. And so Trump is an unorthodox sort of politician at this point. And so Dems can't really match that. You can't be MAGA light. It just doesn't work. And I think that anyone who thinks that you can go fight and fire for fire with Republicans or MAGA for that matter, not going to happen. I think you really got to lock down your states. I know somebody in the chat room said Josh Shapiro. Josh Shapiro's not that guy. He's just not it. He can win Pennsylvania, yes, but beyond Pennsylvania, I don't think he gets the whole entire blue wall. I don't think that's going to be the case. Um, he's just not that guy yet. He hasn't proven anything. This is only his first term, so he hasn't really proven anything yet. Um, he still has a lot to deal with when it comes to Pennsylvania. But you want a Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania so that you can shore up the base come 2028, right? You want certain people to be in position so that you can actually have that solidarity on the ground. That's one of the factors for North Carolina, right? She was able to I'm saying Kamala Harris. She was able to work with Roy, um, not Roy Owens. What's his name? Governor of North Carolina,
Roy Cooper.
Roy Cooper. Yeah, Roy Cooper. So she was
Yeah.
able to campaign with him, right? And so over a dozen times, 2 dozen times. And so you wouldn't have been able to do that without having a sitting governor or some high ranking official there. So these things kind of matter. A lot of people don't think that gubernatorial races matter and sitting governors matter, but they do matter in the long run. So
For sure. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the whole state legislature they now hold a majority in North Carolina. Democrats do, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
yeah, I thought so too.
they do, state house. Yep. So that clearly tells you that there's a difference between they understand the difference between the national ticket and then voting uh, for their interest statewide and locally. There clearly that they have people voting the opposite way
Hmm.
from the so-called national ticket that they voted for when they pulled for Trump. So that's why I say like there was some kind of blocker when people heard Kamala speak about different things. There was things that was blocking the message. Time is one of those issues because there wasn't enough time to really, you know, drill in that messaging to kind of get it tested, you know, bart it back out, bring it in, bring it out, have it tested out into the field, so to speak. And that just it just wasn't enough. It wasn't enough time for that to break through.
I don't know.
Because
I don't know if I agree with the timing aspect. I think it's more of a branding aspect, right? I don't think that she was what the base was looking for. Even when she spoke, I think there was only a small smidget of the base that was really, gravitating towards that. Because from a time perspective, even if you ran it for a whole year, right? If you go back to the primaries in 2020, she wasn't necessarily the firebrand there either.
no,
Even though she had that, she had the media attention. She just was not the firebrand back then. But she obviously cleaned up her her act over the last few years and sharpen her tongue. Um,
Right.
and so race play. I mean, you and I know, and Paradox knows, race played a significant role in all of this. There was just no getting around that. Um, I don't, and I don't. And to your point, you had been really beating on this drum for a while now, even long before Biden dropped out, that she did not lean into her racial capital,
Right.
that she should have leveraged that as much as possible. But I think she's in the pickle. She's trying to appeal to the middle of the road white swing voters, white voters, and she did a few things that I saw personally that I thought that she's trying to appeal to white voters. One was the kissing up to Doug Emhoff, her husband, second gentleman.
Right.
She would always try to cupcake with him to see to I guess to fashion herself as I'm one of y'all, right? And then the other aspect was um, Liz Cheney, right? And so and also the code switching in a few areas when she would go to on the campaign trail. And so I think she saw herself as trying to win over those folks without leaning into her racial capital. And I think that she kind of squandered that. And I always thought that Shannon Sharp was a better asset for her than Doug Emhoff.
You
He's the
think
attractive.
you
Yeah,
think
he's
that would have you think that would have been the bigger difference than as far as the totality of the race?
no. I'm saying from a racial capital standpoint, I'm saying that would have added way more value um than Doug Emhoff, right? Because there has been some real discussion within the campaign that she needed to actually boast her profile within those demographics, and she wasn't doing that. In the end, she started to do it, but in the beginning, she didn't do that. In July, she wasn't doing that. Um, and so I think that the Win with Black Men, Black Women campaign, that played a significant role in really boosting her out there. But I think when it came to black men and it came to the general populace of black people, it was a harder sell than it was for Obama to sell himself to black folks. You understand what I'm saying? That he already had Michelle.
Yeah.
There was no questioning of where he was loyalty wise. With her, you didn't really know that to some of the folks on the ground, because I watched some of the exit poll interviews from black folks, and that's pretty much the sentiment. And I think you have been saying that since July, that um, in some of your previous episodes, that she didn't really lean into the race piece enough.
Yeah, the thing is that this is real tricky with the time issue. Back to what
Hmm.
Paradox was saying,
Hmm.
that's the reason why it's because the people that they're nervous about, they're not all the way in with it already. So they're nervous
Hmm.
about that. They're nervous about the timing. They're nervous about if they make any mistake when it comes down to her campaign. Any messaging that gets out there and it gets kind of skewed and they get into a big old kerfuffle about her racial identity, so to speak. She ignored it too long, in my opinion. I don't know if that changes anything as far as what the overall would have been. Maybe the base would have been a little bit more solidified, but I think that the at the end of the day, there's a lot of kind of different symptoms that people can point at, and I think it depends on your point of view as far as politics are concerned. That's what it's coming out to be for me when I hear people talk about things that she spoke about in general, the
Hmm.
reason why they went Trump, economy, immigration, um, different things when it came down to solidifying the the border and things of that nature, she spoke directly to those issues. There were things that were blocking that. So the obvious things that were blocking that was race and sex. A lot of men couldn't hear the message. A lot of women or white women couldn't hear the message coming from a black woman in their eyes. And it doesn't have to be so-called racism. It's just the fact that people have different viewpoints about what should be representative of these particular issues. Like I said, they voted their interest in North Carolina. They voted for a Democratic a Democratic governor. They just had one recently that won 2 terms, if I'm not mistaken. Then they ran into another governor. So that's like 12 years of being a Democratic governor and having a state house that's pretty much balanced. Now they're in the majority there. They have a Democratic lieutenant governor, Democratic
Mhm.
governor. So,
Yeah.
it is what it is. So to me, I think when it comes down to certain things in this election, um, I sort of lean to I don't know if the timing would have changed everything. I just think that the messaging would have been a lot stronger. It would have been a lot more solid. But these people that were on her campaign, when you hear them speak and you hear them talk about her, I don't know how they leaned into her as far as being comfortable with her being their representative for what they believe the party should be or where they think the party should go. Like
Right.
I said, the party is decentralized. There's a lot of different groups that don't rock with each other in the Democratic Party. You know this.
Mhm.
It's been independent, Green Party, stuff like that. And these people, if they're not energized to vote, they just won't vote. They won't vote for Trump, but if they don't show up to the polls or to the booth to kind of offset the 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 energy that he's providing for those that are solid within the right, then you'll have a situation like this. You know, you'll have a situation where the blue wall is not if blue wall collapses, it goes completely red because people just wasn't energized enough to go vote, you know,
But
for her in the election cycle.
but she lost the blue wall by not a whole lot. It wasn't a blowout. It wasn't like Texas where she lost by a million votes. She lost Wisconsin by what, 40,000 votes, 35,000 votes. I think in
Yeah.
Michigan, I think she lost by like 150,000. I think in Pennsylvania she lost by 100,000 or something like that. She didn't lose by a whole lot, and so I think that I think that there's still I mean everything's at 99% right now in terms of the totals right now for before they can do tabulation on the outcome, but she didn't lose by a whole lot. It wasn't insurmountable, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It wasn't insurmountable, and I think that when it comes to when it came to the race, she lost in areas that she did not campaign in. Gwinnett County in Georgia is where she lost. Fulton County is where she won. And so she didn't campaign in Gwinnett County. Why she
Yeah,
didn't
that
do
was
it, I don't know. Florida, not to say that it was doable, but Miami-Dade, those areas she did not campaign in. In fact, she didn't campaign in Florida at all. And so these are the sort of things that it
Yeah,
the
it's called
nuance.
time, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, it's time, but when you think about the amount of effort that was put into Atlanta, or look how many times she visited North Carolina. She visited North Carolina 30 times. I mean, you could say time, and I agree with you. Time plays a factor in general, but
Time is the factor.
I'm saying you could say time is a factor in general, but how do you skip Gwinnett County? That's not a time factor. That's a choice, right? You don't go from Fulton and skip Gwinnett. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That's not a time factor. That's a choice.
You're making choices because of time. That's what you're saying isn't true. That is exactly what is happening. Actually,
It's an out.
that's
It's an
what
hour. It's an. It's an.
that's what's making you decide. I know you're trying to rationalize. I'm just saying that's what's making you decide. So they
Well, yeah,
made their decision.
I'm
But
saying there's
their
an hour.
time is that's where the pressure's coming from. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Mistake or not, that's where the pressure's coming from.
I'm saying there's an hour difference between Fulton and Gwinnett. That's
Oh, I mean, I don't care if it's next door. I mean, I'm not running the campaign. You're
oh
under
no, I'm not
pressure,
saying.
so
I'm,
you're under pressure. So and it's coming from time. That's all I'm saying.
okay.
Mistake or not, the pressure.
Okay.
Where's the pressure coming from? It's only coming from time.
Okay.
yeah. By the time she got to the meat of the the campaign, she had to solidify the Democratic base. That was like a whole month, you know, because like I said, there was people there was questions. Let me just put it lightly like that, just in case people don't understand where we're coming from with that.
Mhm.
And then
But
with
no,
that
DC, I think. Let me know. You tell me, is a sports analogy the best example? in basketball, it's the last 6 minutes, and football was the last 2 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever it is. And that's where things are kind of made. And when you're under that kind of pressure, mistakes happen. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, everything is so crucial.
You're trying to play a whole game, at the end of a fourth quarter. I mean, it's just hilarious it's just hilarious.
You got to remember, everybody, even because everybody that's not on Trump's side, he expelled those people from the party to have any kind of real voice. So Fox News don't give him no run.
DC, how much time did he have? How much time did he have? He had 8 years.
10 years. I was 10 years.
To move people out. I mean, he had time, bruh.
10 years.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Paradox, about time in general. I'm saying the areas that she lost in are areas that she just did not campaign in. And the factor here is that a lot of these places were pretty close to each other. And so I don't know what the the command structures and decision structures were like within the campaign itself. I just know that the data on the map tells you otherwise, that the questions were raised from some of the folks I spoke to on the ground as to, well, she just didn't show up here. Even though they were down the street, even though they were uptown somewhere, she just didn't show up here. In areas that she did not show up in, she lost.
Yeah. I think that when they put their, I'm not even going to say it's her, though. When they're putting them schedules together, it is what it is. I mean, I would argue with anybody that you should have went on Joe Rogan. He gets 40 million downloads, and I don't care if it got you extra 1,000 votes, but they didn't have time.
Well, I think Joe Rogan had rejected her from being on the podcast.
Yeah, he canceled on it, if I'm not mistaken, bro.
Yeah.
I think she had a different time.
No. They wanted him to fly out. No, they want him to fly out.
Oh, okay. I knew it was some kind of conflict.
She didn't have time. That's my whole point.
Yeah. Conflict.
But when you're getting 40 million listeners, even though it's at the last minute, I'm not saying you should do it. I'm just saying that when you're on a time crunch and they're building out a schedule for you within that very compressed amount of time, you might miss things. That was my whole point, because the time is where the pressure is coming from. So yeah, you should have went to the next county, but because of that pressure and you're running a million, I'm sure they're. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. So.
Yeah, I get it. I don't think that Joe Rogan plays that much of a role in at least in this campaign, primarily because Joe Rogan endorsed RFK in August, and then he came back and endorsed Trump in November or October, or something like that.
Joe Rogan is very flexible. My point is not really about him. It's about him having 40 million people that download his show. I don't really care what the name is. Yeah. It's just that when you have time, when you have a chance to get to a large audience, relative to what you're doing, it's not even close. That's an easy 30 or 40 million people. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer, to be honest with
you.
Mm-hmm. You think that Biden did Biden ever go on Joe Rogan's podcast?
No. I mean, honestly, Trump didn't want to go on there, but we can have a whole other conversation about Joe Rogan and that culture.
No, I'm just making the point that Biden got 81 million votes to Trump's less than 73 million. He did that without the podcast. So I don't know if the 30 million, 40 million listeners that he has on his podcast would have made a significant difference in this campaign. So the question is, where did the base go from Biden to Kamala, right? Because it can't be that we didn't know who she was under Biden, but we knew who she was under Biden, but now we don't know who she is on her own terms. I don't know if that really adds up on the campaign trail.
Yeah, there was so many different dividing lines. Like I said, your analysis of the failure of the so-called campaign for Kamala is really depending on what your focus is. And I think that what you're saying is just getting out to the base. You're more into the base, leaning into the base. My only issue.
The campaign team made a calculation and they went with it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And that's like I said, it's all about what if now. But that's I don't think it's that complicated. They made a calculation.
maybe they should lean into what you're
But if
saying, though,
she, but
Mike.
if she, but if
Maybe
she
they
had
should-
more time, they could have tested,
They could
him
have
certain
tested
things
it.
on the far
Right.
left. They could have tested, say, you know what,
Right.
I do believe
Right.
in open borders,
Right.
and I'm gonna explain it to you. I
Yes.
can test things when I have time, because they
That's
can run
why
through
she
the
was so
cycles.
careful. That's why she was so
Had to be, bro.
careful.
It's not complicated, bro.
She kept repeating herself during the stump speech. Remember we was talking about this. She kept saying the same thing, and she was saying that's discipline. Like they really
It's
they
campaign
really
strategies, yeah.
right. They
It's
really
training.
wanted to pinpoint her not to lose the so-called, I guess you want to call it the 70 in the hole that she will automatically get regardless. And if you start to test out some of these theories and things of that nature, then it could break another way. And then the Republican side, because they have such
But
a
she
strong
also had to trust Joe Biden's team, who have a certain belief system that don't necessarily even follow hers, and she had to trust that.
Exactly.
There's many more things happening here. All the other stuff don't really matter. That's just TV. That's media nonsense stuff.
So-
But when you really pull back and look at it,
Mhm.
she was in Delaware the whole time, right? We saw the team today. We see their philosophies, where they're coming from in their strategies. I'm not saying it's her strategy. She had to make a choice to protect the party and to work with that
Right.
team because it was already set up.
And
Right.
to your point, Paradox, she couldn't deviate from her sitting president. He's still
Right.
the president.
She's
And
still
then
she's still an active VP. She's still
Yeah.
still an active VP.
So
She's
she's
still a
walking.
part of the administration.
Right,
She's
so she's
walking a tightrope. Yeah, she's walking a tightrope.
she's walking that tightrope, and also um the policy. When you listen to Trump talk, there's a lot of gaffes that he had on about all of these agendas, right? In comparison to her, right? A lot of people say, oh, Trump has an agenda, but he deviates from his agenda all the time. In every interview, he never says the same thing twice. He always says
I'm
it
gonna tell
once.
you,
Yeah, go ahead.
just real quick, Joe. I think when we go back and focus on him,
Mhm.
it's like we missed the point because people get energized by that. So if what I've seen, right,
Mhm.
and even in the discussions, like when we say, just look at what Trump did, it's just like, yeah, like look what he does. He's so natural. Like they don't view it that way. Like,
Mhm.
as far as being whether he doesn't know really what tariffs mean, but he wants to enforce it, he's probably not going to be able to do it because whoever his financial advisor will probably tell him, you can't do this, sir. Like that doesn't work. He may still push it through by his own, accord because he said he was. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But what I'm saying is he has a unique emotional pull to people. And it has nothing to do with policy. It has nothing to do with any of these other things that people talk about. It's an emotional thing. Trump is an emotional pull to the grievance. Me and Paradox talked about it, maybe like a couple of shows ago. He speaks to the grievance in a particular way where it even fits with people that are like not like him. You're talking about an elite person from a family that is so-called one of the chosen ones that have grievances, and so he shares that with people that are not in his class, and he's able to connect with them on that kind of level. Draining the swamp, people like that. Getting rid of the politicians and the bureaucrats of Washington D.C. I mean, you could even see what he did to reframe or to reform the Republican Party into so-called MAGA now, right? It's his party because he went in there and slapped all of them up because they thought that they had to follow some kind of invisible rules. And he's like, no, fuck the rules. I'm going to say what I want to say. And it didn't work. No matter what they said about how rude he was, how he cussed people out, things of that nature, there is some kind of hold that he has. That's why I need to wait, because people are making decisions on the way he is and the way the electorate responded to him. I don't know if you can make a clear decision on how to really proceed from there until you get somebody else in the cycle to see if it washes or not. Like, is this really a thing where in policy you're going to talk about, well, we need to talk to these people again? Because that's nonsense. Because clearly she did that. Like, she wasn't pushed all the way to the left. She spoke to a lot of the issues that these people were talking about that they had concerns about. And like I said, there was a block. There was a block there where they did not hear. It was just like Charlie Brown. Wah, 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 wah. You would even hear people say that she was incoherent. How is she incoherent and he's not? That's what
Yeah,
I'm
they
saying.
are.
So that's what I mean by his emotional pull to them, though, Mike. His emotional pull to them mean more than anything else. It mean more than competence. It mean more than basically knowing what to do with certain situations. Even means more than actually handling a crisis. Clearly, this man don't know how to handle a crisis.
he's their friend. DC. All that other stuff don't matter.
Yeah, no, it's the white.
The man
Okay.
has been in the media for over 50 years, and he's made it his job since the 80s to manipulate the media,
He's
to
a
become an
media,
expert
right?
at it. So you're dealing with a
Yeah.
master here, basically, when it comes to media.
He know how to deal
Since
with the
America
media.
responds
Really.
to very low frequencies when it comes to media and the idiocracy of it, he is literally the perfect apparatus for it. To be totally honest with you, and we're seeing it play out. It's kind of crazy, actually.
No,
There it is.
I agree with you that the propaganda machine of Trump was in full motion. But I also think that he can get away with that as a white male in this sort of society. I don't think if he was a Democrat that would fly very well, right? If he was a candidate on the Democratic ticket, I don't think you'll be able to get away with insulting Michelle Obama. I don't think you'll be able to get away with insulting, Nancy Pelosi within the same party and things still just work, the same way. So I think that happens only on that side,
Right.
with that demographic. I think you can only get away with that because when they look at the exit polls and they look at the demographics, Trump supporters have significantly less education than Democratic voters by leaps and bounds. Black women, master's degrees. Trump voters typically have just a high school diploma, if that at best. And so you're talking about two different demographics in the same in socioeconomically speaking in the same age range, but look at the world totally different. Black women, you can't pull you can't convince them that this sort of meandering around is going to work with them. They need to be able to hear consistency in what you're saying. I think Kamala's repeating a stump speech on the campaign trail was effective at understanding where she was. With Trump, you didn't know where he was. He just kind of moved around and just made up. Look at his acceptance speech. At the RNC.
It
It's like,
didn't matter. It
yeah.
didn't matter. Listen. I wish that it did. And here's the thing though. That's
Mhm,
crazy, right?
mhm,
The older people. He lost a lot of some of the older folks, some of the seniors that's in his age bracket. He
mhm.
lost some of that demographic, but he made inroads on the white college women and the white college men. He did make inroads on them, bro.
Yeah.
Not to the effect of being a majority, but he made inroads on that electorate to where he energized them even. So those people that were so called considered to be in the age bracket to where they would go to the left, no, they basically sided with him. As far as that demographic, because they are such a large portion of our electorate, and they
Mhm.
vote at a very very high percentage with their particular population also into it. I'm talking about white people when I say they. um, it's effective when you can get 2 to 3% of them to vote that certain way. So the 2 to 3% that broke for him, you're talking about millions of voters. So that works.
DC,
That
hold on for a
works for
second
him.
now. Hold on for a second. How many votes did Trump get 4 years ago?
71,
Uh,
70,
70,
70, 71, 72.
no, it was 74. I think, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's where it's at right now. 74, 75.
You mean in
I think I
2020?
think Biden. Yeah, Biden got 81. I think Biden
Yeah.
was up on 6 to 7 million. Yeah,
I
in the,
think I
in the popular vote.
So
Yeah,
he
I
got
think
what?
when they
He
yeah.
got 74 and a half 4 years ago.
Yeah,
He got 76 or 75 and a
yeah,
half.
yeah, yeah.
So what I want to know is I want to know who left and who came,
Right.
because he only got an extra million votes from 4 years ago. It's very interesting.
Right,
I
he only
think we
moved.
just I think we just spoke to it. Go ahead
Yeah,
though. Go ahead, man.
no, I was just going to say he only moved a percentage point up for white women, 52 to 53%. So
Yeah.
that can't be the
Right.
case. But where he made a lot of inroads was with white males, who may have
But but
not
but, that,
voted.
but see that's what I'm saying though. Just that
Did he
just
did
that
he did he
alone.
match his did
Even
he did he match his white male vote, or did he go up? Did it go up a lot?
I
It went
thought
up.
it
It went up.
I
increased.
haven't looked
I
at the
thought it
numbers
increased. Yeah, I thought it
yet today.
increased.
It increased.
So he did get a bump.
It increased.
Okay.
He got a bump. And that's what I'm saying. He got a bump from the college educated ones too. Like it didn't the percentage of the percentage of how they voted for Biden is stark between the difference between how they voted for Kamala. That's what I'm saying about
Yeah.
the messaging. And we're talking about educated white people, by the way. That's when you get that difference in the percentage points, when we're talking about 1 to 2% of a vote, if I'm not mistaken, white women is 53% of the overall voting electorate. The overall voting block is 53% white women. Am I correct on that paradox? Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they hold a big chunk. They hold a big chunk of the voting electorate, Mike. So whenever they move a percentage point, it could be devastating depending on the margins of how you lose. Like if you look in states like Pennsylvania, you're looking at the single white mom that stays in Pennsylvania that they cannot hear Kamala's message. You know what I mean by that? She can't hear her. She's gonna go with Trump. Or she's not gonna vote at all. Um, it's the messaging part, but she can hear Biden. She can hear Biden, even though he's a Democrat. She can hear old Grandpa Biden talking to her about,
Mhm.
Giving her economic opportunity, being for the unions and stuff like that. That's the nuances and the differences between the people in the party. I said it, a long time ago, about the reason why you get another white man to go up against Trump during that cycle is because people got to be able to. There cannot be prohibitors to your
Bruh,
message for whatever reason.
she almost won, bro.
I know.
Everything you just
I
said,
know.
put that in context. Remember,
I
Joe
I
Biden.
know.
Joe Biden has been in the public eye for 70 years. So I mean,
Right.
just think about what you just said and look at the numbers. That's what I mean about
Right.
proper perspective about things. Think about that.
Do you think she should run next cycle, Mike, or you out
No,
on
I think
Kamala?
that horse has left the barn already. I think that's done already.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Okay.
if you ran in 2019 and you ran in 2024 and it didn't, I don't know if the donors would be willing to put any more money behind that again. I think that they'd be looking for something a little bit more different and more dynamic. From that perspective.
Now they
She's going.
asked people.
She's running.
They asked people who
We'll see
do
what
they
happens
want
with
to
that.
run, and she overwhelmingly, even over they had all the names down there. Overwhelmingly, they chose her.
She's blowing everybody out. Yeah.
They chose her to be the so-called,
You know why, DC? You know why?
time.
What did we not know 100 days, 100, well, now it's more than 100 plus days ago? We didn't know who she was.
What poll was this?
No, I mean they did. They did. That's a poll on.
They've been running a bunch of polls to see
Yeah,
who
and
she
they've been.
runs and for, and she's been blowing them out by 30%, 30, 40 points or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
it
really
didn't reflect on it didn't reflect on the ground, so I don't know.
I'll send it. I'll send it to you so you can take a look at the numbers. It's about like 10 different
Let me
ones
tell
that
you
they
this:
actually.
to get 75 million votes and 220 electoral votes, which is a very rare thing in the history of America. Yeah, if people don't think that matters, then you need to keep doing your research.
Yeah, against a
No,
populist candidate, because like I said, he's unique in the sense of the things that he can get away with, though, Mike. That's the thing. Like, it's not like he's not a regular person or a regular politician in the true sense of the word. He's not really into that kind of vein. So a lot of people that may not even vote in the next cycle, period.
yeah.
Due to him not even running. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you got to have a person because he's like one-on-ones. Like when you're dealing with people like that, that's why it's kind of hard to compare these people, because he's unique, and this is going to be where we're going to have to call it the Trump years from 2015 to like 2000, and whenever he finishes up, if he finishes, I don't think he's going to finish the cycle, but I will give my opinions on that a little bit later. I think it's going to be a whole lot of craziness going on, and I think he's going to
No,
crash that plane.
the thing is you have to find out who can absorb you're gonna lose probably, I don't know, maybe 5, 10 million voters. So you got to find someone, and it might be Vance. I don't know. We'll see in 4 years. You got to
Yeah, I
find
think it
someone
has
that
to
can
be
capture the
George.
that can capture the minds of the MAGA voter at the same exact time. They can
Yeah,
hold their
they
own. They can
understand.
they can hold their own position. You have to be able to
Yeah.
stand in that position, take a hard position, and be able to take it. And most candidates just not built that way, which makes Trump obviously unique, of course. That's what's going to be interesting to see. For example, what's the guy who just quit, who I thought had nuts? Uh, Matt Gaetz. He
Yeah.
floats like a lawn chair. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I know Trump is like, you got to be kidding me.
I just see that picture. I mean,
And I
they
think
had
the
me.
Fox
They
News
had,
dude, he might fold too,
hold
bro. Think he might fold too, bro.
on. They had my head on the motherfucking guillotine, and I talked myself out to being back king again. How the fuck you gonna
Yeah.
be a
With 26 rape charges, I'm good. Relax. Don't worry about it. We got you. Just hold. But see, Trump. Anyway, I don't want to go down that road about Trump. But
he's different though, man.
he's
That's what I'm
Trump the
saying.
Great. I
Like,
call him Trump the Great for a reason.
yeah, that's too far, bro. But I get you, man. But
I suppose too far. That's how I'm
as,
built.
yeah, it's clear. It's clear that he has a hold mic on half of the mindset here to where people don't see his weaknesses for what they are. They see it as strengths.
No, Trump is a psychopath, bro. That's all. It's not that heavy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
that I agree with.
you know, and people like psychopaths. People like Hannibal Lecter. I mean, you know, he talks about Hannibal Lecter all the time, man. Go, you know, that's part of it too. So,
Well, I mean,
yeah.
I don't think they care about, I mean, to your point, I don't think their that base cares about what, all the gaps and things that he has. Like you say, he's a unique character. He can export, those jobs from Indiana with carrier down to Mexico, and nobody questions it. But then they come up here and say he's good for business. It's you're dealing with people who are not fundamentally um, there mentally. They're just not there. They checked out a long time ago. It doesn't make any sense to say that he's good for business while exporting your jobs away, and then blame somebody like Kamala and say, I think she uses a lot of word salad, even though she's been using the same stunt speech 20 different times. It doesn't make any sense. That who are we talking to here, right? We're not talking to normal people.
I think unfortunately, never Trumpers and moderate Democrats, blue dog Democrats. I don't know what y'all call them these days.
Hmm.
The problem is they're weak, and so because I heard them repeating that, I watched the left follow the right in this election. It was very disappointing.
Oh
That's
yeah,
what I'm
Very
saying.
disappointing, bro.
That goes
I
back
know,
to what I was
I
saying.
know, I
That
know,
goes back to my point
I
in the
know.
beginning, bro. You don't see that.
I mean, I see it. I'm just not on
Oh,
the left. I
what?
mean, I
No, I'm
see
saying,
it.
no.
It's
But
funny
what
to
I'm saying,
me.
if you do see it, what do? Either you silence or you up
Dude,
out of
Trump.
here.
Look, bro. Trump has been trolling so hard, but the left is so educated. They refuse to. They refuse to let it go. And I get it. When you're smart, that's just how it is, right? But he's doing things, and he knows his audience, and they don't take anything seriously. That's the whole point. They're dumb high school dropout. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like if but the left. I don't want to go down this road, so I'm not going to do it. But
Go ahead
the
and finish
left.
up, man.
I'm not going to do the analysis. I'm just telling you that it's so obvious, but
hmm
they're so smart. It's just so funny that they still don't see it even to this day. I find it hilarious. And Trump can't believe it. To be honest, I think he can't even believe it.
but it works to his
But I'm
advantage.
going to be nice though.
But it works to his advantage to have a base that is undereducated that doesn't question the
But that's fine.
legitimacy
That's
of
his
what
base.
he's saying.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
Because
his
if they
base.
had to, right, and they
But
said,
see, the problem is
because
the left is
the
the left
testimony
is
from
so
folks on
worried.
the ground, okay.
But the left is so worried about it. That's my. I don't want to go down this conversation, but
Mhm.
that's the problem actually. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that it in order for him to sustain himself, he needs a base that doesn't question the legitimacy of what he says. And so if they say, oh, well, I think he's good for business, I think he's good for the economy. Well, what about all those farmers in the Midwest who have been out of business, before he left office because of a trade war he started? What about all those manufacturing jobs that got shipped off because of some of his botched policies? See, no one questions the legitimacy of his candidacy. It's almost like he never ran before. Right. And so they're making it seem like he's a new candidate, but we know based on the data and based on the evidence that that's not true, that he's not good for business. Like I heard somebody in the space say that opportunity zones and things like that. And it was like, okay, show me where the success of the opportunity zones are, because it expires next year. Right. But they can't do that. Right. They don't actually do the due diligence to look at all of the evidence, because they don't care about that. They care just about the character or the person, the cult of personality, more so than the substance of policy. That's why when some people say, oh man, white women care more about the price of eggs and milk. That's not true. That's not true.
If the Democratic apparatus truly believe what you just said, Trump would have been out of here.
What do you mean?
The problem is they keep what you just said. They're over analyzing it all the time, and he knows it.
No, I'm not saying. No, I'm not.
So if the Democratic people who actually run the party, but unfortunately, because of how the structure is, I don't even know if you can do it. You have to take him serious. Does that make sense?
So no, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
He said it. It's like we have. It's like, well, you really don't have to, because. But my thing is that if you don't do it, I don't know what that means. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you give it up, where does that leave you in a sense, right? So I do understand the fear of even trying to give it up and say, we're not going to take him seriously. We're not taking his base seriously. We're not trying to explain it away. We're not trying to hit him with politics and say, well, don't y'all understand? Like, I remember back in 2016, they kept saying, you're voting against your interests. I'm like, they do not care. Stop saying that. You're wasting your energy even worrying about it. Right. Focus on your people. Focus on your stuff. Get out of that place. Leave that place alone. And Trump feeds off of it. And I'm just sitting around thinking to myself, do y'all just want the money? Is this more about the clicks and the views and the ratings? Because it's kind of obvious what he's doing. And it's just, they just won't let it go. But anyway, like I said, I don't want to go down that road. I don't want to.
No, I understand what you're saying from a machine standpoint. That's their response, is that they're, the other side is voting against their interests. I'm not arguing that. I'm saying Trump's base, in order for Trump to sustain himself long term, it requires that the base never questions the legitimacy of him. And so that's the only way that he can survive, campaigns and presidencies, is because the base isn't questioning anything that he's doing. And no matter what he does.
That's the whole point, though.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Right? No, my point is, I know you get. My point is that the actual. Say what? Say what, DC?
That's why I brought up the difference between how the Republican has basically gathered around him and how they gathered around Kamala was it's two different things, bro.
Yeah.
The support apparatus is what I was saying.
Well, the Democrats and the progressive left, I'm not trying to give y'all too much advice, DC. People listen to the channel, they start taking out.
But I'm saying, I'm gonna say this. No, but we're here to be honest more than anything else, man.
I understand, but look. First of all, and I agree with Mike on it, which is, I would never have a conversation about you need to do a version of him on the left, right? That's the wrong way of looking at it.
MAGA light.
You need to, no one should even be talking about that. It's insanity. It shouldn't even be a conversation. What it should be is, from the left, what are our hardest progressive policies that we can push and protect that will cause energy to happen, will cause friction to happen, but we're gonna hold it
and do what he did.
Don't even worry about
because
that.
Your detractors. Hold on, no. I'm saying this will have the natural. What you said will have a natural effect if we lean into what we're leaning into. Then those people that are hanging around that want to kind of be halfway in, halfway out, then you gotta roll. You gotta get somewhere else. You gotta get going. Because here's the thing.
I told you.
Hold on. Let me get this out, because this is what we talked. Me and you, we talked about this for ourselves. The thing is that there were when you have a situation where you have people like Chank, TYT, Anna, all these people, Pod Saves America, all these folks. They didn't show up at Howard University to cover her. They didn't try to interview her. They didn't try to put them on a podcast, Bulwark and all these people. When you got people like that, that's defectors from the other side,
Hmm.
you gotta watch them. You gotta watch them like George Washington watch watch my man. What's my man that basically was still with the British Crown back in the day? What was his name? He's a real popular trader, but he was like a double. He was like the first double agent in America. Anyway, people know the name, but you gotta watch people like that because
And
at the end of the day, they're willing to sabotage you because they never been with you. They never been on your team for real, and they're
that's big
just
facts.
there. They're just there to try to eject Trump from the power base so they could go back home. That's the
Yeah.
difference between being a true defector and then somebody basically just biding time to eject him up out of there. And then no, we back enemy again. That's what, dude. you know, Shout out to the dude. His name Fugazi, but that's Fugazi, bro. That's the true meaning of it. That is
Yes.
Fugazi. Because at the end of it, that's nasty work, man. Because you're sitting up in my face trying to tell me on how to run a Democratic. Fuck out of here, man. You're gonna tell me how to be left and you just got here 5 minutes ago? No, man. No. You need to roll. Because at the end of the day, you with them. You with them.
Yeah.
You're not with us. So you don't believe in the you're not comfortable around black people. They don't have black people on their podcast. And when they do bring black people on, they gotta capitulate to them being talking all this other stuff about how they don't know white people. And you got all of these people talking about voting electorate, and you're not talking about white women, you're not talking about white men that vote this way, but you're white men and you're white women on a podcast talking about this voting electorate that haven't voted this way since 1968. Paradox, 1968.
And they're
These
always
are
trying
just
to
the facts.
and they're always trying now the conversation is about getting away from identity politics. Dems need to get away from identity politics when in fact when in fact
You
the
know what I'm saying?
identity
You see what I'm saying?
the identity politic was being played by the right, not by the left, right? And so I don't know, man.
She should have wrapped herself in the LGBTQ trans brown, black, Asian flag. Period.
She should have
Very
or she
formal.
shouldn't have.
She should have wrapped herself in DEI, wrapped herself in the LGBT. She should have wrapped
Yeah,
it. That's
Yes,
I
what
agree.
yes.
these things have
I
been.
agree. That would have expelled
The
him.
Democratic
They would
Party.
the gay hold on, the gay shit wouldn't expel them because Tim, all them guys are gay. They got gay guys over there, so that doesn't do it. If you wrap yourself in DEI,
It's so
into the black
obvious.
shit
It's
and
just
black
stupid,
males,
bro. It's so
you
obvious.
lean into black male empowerment, all that kind of stuff. Black women, kind of getting off certain things.
You gotta make
Dude,
them
that
feel it, bro.
that
It's just
would
not. It's not complicated.
expel. That would
Yeah.
expel. It would be a rejection of that because at the end of the day, they would show who they truly are. That's why I wanted her to win,
Well,
by the way. Because
they
see,
sabotaged
but
it.
see,
We watched
just
DC. We was
let me,
talking about it day and
but,
we're
that's,
watching it happen.
but
I'm
you
watching it
try
happen. I'm like, what the hell is this?
bro, you my man, but you guys lit me at the beginning when you was talking about, well, it ain't the same. Dude, there is when Trump, we knew Trump when Trump went in 2016, we went over it at that debate. What did he get in? What did he have in his hand? That motherfucker had a sword, and that shit was extra sharp. I'm cutting heads off. Who rolling with me? Rolling with me. If you with these fuckers, you with them. And what did they do? Everybody got on that guillotine and he cut heads off. He might as well have been the Undertaker in that motherfucker. He embarrassed 16 Republicans, established Republicans that were
And
waiting in line to take over. Come
and
on,
insulted
man.
and
You knew what
insulted
that was.
and insulted their wives. In the black community, you insult someone's mama or their wife, man. Those are fighting words, man.
I'm just saying, man. For him to solidify the base the way he did, it was a hostile takeover.
Yeah.
He
Well,
did not get
he did what he had to do it for him to win. The thing about Kamala is that unfortunately she's getting advice from Joe Biden,
exactly.
and
No, she getting advice from enemies,
she made
from
like I
enemies,
said,
bro.
they saved the party is still around, but the only mistake I told you, I've been telling you the mistake obviously, but the whole point is it's a risk though because I'm not sure if the party's built for it, so it is a risk.
Yeah.
because it's the people in the Democratic Party who are mainly centrist, Hillary Clinton, etc. They are extreme. Nancy Pelosi. They are extremely powerful. So I am making a statement
Yeah,
not in
very
ignorance, but in
powerful.
sort of a
Very
sort of a
powerful.
state where I'm just kind of talking in a sense, because when you really dig
Yes,
into it, understand the power dynamics in the party, it sounds good for
yes.
me to say that. I don't know the execution part because of how powerful they are, bro.
And
It's
think about the
very
position
powerful.
that she was in though, Paradox. She's the standing vice president. So she's intricately connected. But the thing is, she could have did that. She could have said, "Yo, you know what? I don't want the team. I want to go with a whole different team. I'm bringing in my people that's from Oakland, by the way, who was rocking with me when I went, when I won district attorney's office. That's who I want here with me. That's who I trust. That's what I want. That's who I want to be rocking with me instead of you guys. And no offense, blah blah blah. I'd rather have people that know my personality, know who I am, see if you get
Imagine
the
if
best out of
DC.
me, go
Imagine
that
if she
route.
puts Imagine
That
if
is taking
she
a
puts
chance.
pressure. If she puts pressure on Gaza, protects the LGBT community, and explains why she wants the borders the way they are. Those three things.
But
And the amount of energy you're gonna get from the base might be able to push those folks out. I just don't know how risky that is. How much
I
risk is in
I
that
think she
statement that I
loses.
just
She
made?
loses some. She loses the corporate side of it, though. Paradox. That's the thing. How many of
she
those
loses
people that are there?
she
How
loses
many
the
people are
moderate.
those?
She loses the moderates when you do something like that. But I don't think that the LGBTQ thing was even a thing for her on the campaign trail. I
And
think
that,
that
that
was
doesn't
down.
that doesn't affect the Democratic base to me as an
Yeah,
overall. But the black thing, having too many powerful black people in positions of power, I think that
yeah,
affects them. I think that
yeah.
would expel some people that needs to be expelled, like those people that come from the bulwark and all that are no never Trumpers. You need to just wait on your party to go through a
DC, I
cycle.
would have put them
You
on
need to
put
wait
them on
on
an
your
island,
people to
bro.
go through a cycle.
You had to put. They should have been put on the island. They should have felt like this ain't my. This ain't. I don't know whose part of this is, but they doing whatever they doing. I'm on my own. You know what I'm saying? That didn't
Yeah.
happen though. They were. I watched them do this, right? They were
Oh
they
my!
were basically they were
They were
basically for
embraced.
100 days.
They were
They
embraced.
was
They were
they
embraced.
was
Yeah, you said
they
it.
was what?
They were embraced. They were welcome in. They were welcome in.
Yeah, they want. That's what I'm saying. They was wavering so much. It caused so much impact. I just, man, it's so clear. You know what I'm saying when you really look at it. Mm,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah, I definitely think she should have leaned into the DEI thing a little bit more.
Yeah,
A little bit
not
more.
not 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 the gay thing. Not the gay. See,
the
I'm going to be clear
Republicans,
because to me,
DC, the Republicans were calling it out real time, and the moderate Democrats and the never Trumpers was fighting and was feeding right into it. That's what was shocking, by the way, is
Remember,
that you're letting the right. And by the way, they're doing it right now. Pull up anything that's right wing. They're running the same propaganda they was running 2 weeks
no,
ago or
no.
3 weeks ago, whatever the election was, right? They're hammering it because the Democrats won't hold a position on it. So now all of a sudden companies are getting rid of DEI and this is changing. And I'm just thinking to
yes,
myself,
yes,
why did you introduce all this stuff and then you won't protect it?
yes.
And
That's
I
my
keep telling
point.
black folks, you out here butt naked dealing with these people. Anyway, I'm not gonna do it.
No,
I'll
no,
be
no.
quiet.
That's exactly my point. That she should have leaned into that and said, "Hey, you know, I'm a product of an HBCU. Hey, I grew up,
Right.
and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." She should have leaned into that because they didn't just call her a DEI candidate. They also called Wes Moore a DEI,
Mm-hmm.
and they also
Mm-hmm.
called Byron Scott, a mayor of Baltimore, a DEI candidate. And then they started calling everybody that. And then Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, had to pull Trump and these guys to the side and say, "Hey, I think you guys want to lean up off of this whole DEI attack. These attacks are not good for you." Right? But they kept going with it anyways. I think periodically. But I think to your point, Paradox, that's exactly my point. Is that she should have leaned into that and she should have turned that into a better campaign pitch because then because what's happening now is DEI is being thrusted out of the workplace
Oh,
and
it's
now
over. Yeah, that's done. This
yeah
cycle, that's it's over.
and then
4
you
years. Yeah.
compound that with affirmative action, right? And
Yeah.
it's like you have to paint the picture that hey, you let this guy come in, and they're coming for all of us too, with all this anti-DEI, anti-affirmative action stuff. People are getting thrusted out
Absolutely.
of their positions, and so you have to think
Absolutely.
she had to lean into that because she was the right candidate to lean into that. And then you have Obama, and then you have Michelle leading, and then you have the rest of the Congressional Black Caucus, Latino Caucus, the Progressive Caucus, and all those folks hit the campaign trail and stay on message and fight from that position and not fight from this, other colorful flag thing that was going on. I don't think that was the necessary thing. I think because the party itself is a DEI party when you really think about it from a demographic standpoint, how big tent it is and how
Yeah.
unorthodox it is to organize with Trump. I mean, with MAGA,
Yes.
it's easy to organize them under a message of misinformation or disinformation because it doesn't matter if it's true or not. You're gonna fall in line
Mhm.
anyways.
The thing that people got to realize is that the Obama effect didn't only work on black people. It worked on white people. White people that hated this man voted for him twice. I want people to realize that. Voted for this man twice, bro. He
360
won
days.
North Carolina. He won Ohio. That's crazy.
He flipped 10 states. Yeah, he
That is
flipped 10 states.
crazy, bro. I mean, when you really put that in perspective, that's madness. Because these people clearly did not like this man. Clearly, bro. But they liked him. He does what what me and Paradise call the magical Negro thing. He glamours people.
Hmm.
So he just don't glamour black people. He glamours white people too. By the time they out of the spell, they out the booth. They can't believe they voted for the man. Would you say that they interviewed somebody one day? What in West Virginia? What did the man say? Paradise back in the day.
No, one of like you said, like one of his main campaign managers was canvassing out there. They had asked him who they were voting for, asked the wife, and the husband yelled out from the back room saying, "We voting for that nigga." Or the nigga or some shit like that. I forgot what he said,
This is crazy.
which is
That's
insane.
madness, though. That's what I'm saying. Like, yo, it's something when you got people. That's what I'm saying. So Michelle and Obama,
Michelle
Michelle
Barack.
and
Michelle Barack.
Barack, they're totally different, man. They are a special. You can't put other people into their category. The way they speak, the way they engage people, it's just special. So you got to put them somewhere else because that's a different kind of politics too. Because like I said, white people that want to still control the country. They don't want to see them run either because they know the electorate, the way the electorate is. They know how people's minds are, and if you can mold people's minds when you speak to them directly, even if you do not agree with them, they'll vote for you. They'll vote for these people.
Yeah.
So that's what Trump has, but Trump has a little bit of half of that with a little bit going towards the tilt where he can basically win a populist election like he did this one. So no matter what he says, he has that same kind of effect, but it's just he has both the hater effect and the love effect of that kind of grip. So there's some people that just ain't gonna never rock with him even within the same party. And then there's some people that's within the other party that's going to rock with him because they just like his messaging. They think he's the representation of manhood. You see it everywhere. Man, black man, I like that he stand on what he's standing on. Like it's just something as simple as that. Man, I like the way he talks shit, man.
Yeah,
He's going to give it to black women. He going to take away the women rights. Like a lot of guys feel so-called disenfranchised when it comes down to black women getting political so-called gifts in the environment that we're in right now. So they feel bad about that. They feel like Trump is basically a arbitrator of that, and he can give them so-called relief from having black women have the upper hand on them. But what they don't still doesn't take away their positioning because these people are going to still leverage that against you. That's why I wanted them out of the way because the left is going to still use that against you. Don't you see that?
right.
Anyway, I mean, let me get
No, 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 no.
this. That's so
No,
crazy to me.
yeah, completely agree with you on this. But I just want to make sure I touch on this one point. In the chat room, it says Harris was Democrats' version of Palin. I have to emphatically disagree about this. I don't know how you can come to that
Wow,
conclusion.
that's
You
crazy.
know Harris is just leaps and bounds ahead of Palin could have ever been, politically and academically, as well as um, uh, work wise as well. She was she was the attorney general, in the state senator of the largest economy in the country, in one of the biggest economies in the world, and she became a VP. There's not really a comparison between Palin and Kamala. It's just not the same. Just because she's a woman doesn't necessarily make her the same as a DEI candidate. And number two, Palin is not a DEI candidate. She was just, Republicans were looking to try something different at that time.
And they realized that she was a buffoon, a bumbling idiot.
Yeah, she was a pretty face for the party, but not necessarily the candidate that they needed.
She had no brains, bro.
Yeah,
She's I just watched an interview of her like a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, you're still stupid. Jesus.
Yeah, you want to talk about the empty seat.
It's bad, bro.
But Mike, that's what I'm saying. So when they see her, that's what I mean. So it's that blocker. You see what I mean? Whatever your feeling is about, and then you attach that to black men and black women's relationships. That's how you're going to look at it from a perspective of you're going to view her in that same antagonistic kind of way. So you don't care about her showing any kind of intelligence or any kind of smarts, basically dressing down some of those people in those Senate hearings and Senate committees and things of that nature. Like you're going to look down upon her being the first black Asian woman from the California being the whole state. You know what I'm saying? Of that size. Come on, man. Like
you're either responding to a troll or to a buffoon. Because if you're not into politics, then if you're into politics, you're not even going to say something like that.
No, we don't. That's what I'm saying. I say we don't have to offend them, but their opinion don't make it fact. That's what I mean. Their opinions don't make it fact, bro. That's all we got to say.
And fuck them too, really. To be honest with you. But anyway, look.
No.
What I'm saying is this, DC. I lost my. I'm gonna tell you another thing they were saying on the left. They said that we don't understand. She didn't talk about race. And she didn't talk about women. And she didn't talk about this. And she didn't talk. She just did. I'm looking at them like, are y'all for real? Really? That's all I was just looking like.
That was her elevator pitch.
It's unbelievable, bro.
That was her elevator pitch. She worked at McDonald's. Mother's Indian, father's Jamaican, biracial. That was her elevator pitch. So to say that she didn't do that, I don't know what they were looking at the last 106 days, but that's just emphatically not true.
What I'm saying, the people on the left who do a lot of the shows are trying to make a point that how do we end up losing when everything that the right was saying about her, she didn't run on.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, are y'all really that stupid? Are y'all playing with us or what? What are you talking about?
There is a disinformation campaign coming from both sides. Paradox. I think that Bernie Sanders was the lightning that started all of this, that sparked a lot of these misinformation about, she didn't lean into the working class, or Democrats left the working class.
It's all fake news.
Yeah, it's all fake news. And then the other side says that she was too far to the left. But when she was talking about gun rights and gun ownership and gun responsibility, everybody just pretend like she never said anything. And then when she made the gaffe and said, "Hey, if you come to my house, you're gonna get shot," that's some hood shit. Okay, that's some hood shit to say on Oprah, right? And so she spoke to the 40 flavors of the left that she could, and she appealed to the one or two vanillas that she could on the middle. And so, and bringing in Liz Cheney was that piece, right? That she tried to speak to that demographic. And I think in some ways, DC, what do you think, man? I mean, you're laughing at me?
No, I'm not laughing at you. No, you're right. You're right. Listen, man. Like I said, your perspective, and I want people to really understand this. When you listen to us talk about this, we're open to listening to people. But like when you say stuff like she's comparative to Sarah Palin, come on, bro. Where's that coming from, man? Like I said, you got to really think about what you're saying. Like it's just not true. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, there is no comparison when it comes down to that, outside of them being what? A woman. Outside of them being a woman. That's it.
if you're gonna
Outside of
compare,
that, there is no comparison between them two.
if you're gonna
Period.
compare, if you're gonna compare Sarah Palin to anybody, that would be to Carrie Lake in Arizona, or that would be to what's her face
I
in
would not even
Minnesota.
give. I would even give Kerry Lake even more run than that. That's just. Yeah, that's just not. That's just not accurate, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
just
not.
not accurate.
It's just not an accurate statement to make, and unfortunately,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
seems
no,
to be
it's
the
not.
narrative that is put out there that somehow she's incompetent. But how can you say that she's incompetent when you listen to the inner circles? They say, the Africa initiative was Kamala's initiative. The whole lift every
When
lift.
someone can
But
find
how?
me
But
a black
how?
person, when someone can find me a black person in America who has a prominent
Jesus.
job and is able to be stupid, I'll wait. I'll wait for that. I'll wait for it. That's not a thing in America. It's a stupid premise. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just fundamentally here. We don't. I wish we
She
had that
is
choice.
the first.
That'd be
But I'm
cool to
saying.
have that option to be George W.
But
Bush.
but
We don't. That's not an
but
option for us.
nobody.
So anybody you
But
see at a high
paradox.
level,
Mhm.
anything serious who is not white, I will be stunned
Paradox.
if they're
She
not smart.
already.
Stunned, by
She
the way.
already broke. She already broke the glass ceiling. She is the first so-called black, and if you want to add Asian, but black Asian woman that has been the vice president of the United States. There hasn't been a woman vice president, period. Unless I'm mistaken, unless somebody can tell me that there has been one. Has there ever been a vice president that's been a woman in this country, or is she the first
White
one?
woman.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly,
She
exactly.
might be the
Now
first.
you
She
don't
might be
think.
the first one. She might be the first one. Have there been? No, that's not true. Never mind. Go ahead. My bad.
No, but I'm saying, but and see, that's what I'm saying. So think of how that plays into it,
Hmm.
because like you said, people didn't really know about her, but then when you figure out, oh, she's the first vice. Has there been a white woman vice president? Oh no, really? Like there are a lot of things that came together to kind of keep these people either so-called voting suppressed in the electorate because she don't get the support that some thought she needed, and then basically just like I said, whatever she says, because I guarantee you the same person that's saying that is going to talk about the economy, they're going to talk about their finances, they're going to talk about different things, and guess what Donald Trump is going to be basically benefiting from when he first get into office, when they start to run, oh, look how good the economy is and stuff like that. You know what that's going to be? That's going to be the previous administration's economy that he's going to be basically running off of until he basically crashes it and burns it by doing what he think he's going to be able to do. Hopefully they talk him out of doing some of the things he's talking about doing, especially with this tariff thing. Don't make that a big deal.
Trump responds to the market, so that would keep him in check, in my opinion.
There you go. Good thing. That's then we good money on that. But he's benefiting from their policies that they put into place. He's going to see the benefit of that as being the sitting president.
Oh,
Because
the
those
infrastructure
things that
spending.
they enacted, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Those things that they put into place is going to benefit him as being the sitting president during that time period of the so-called windfall of the Infrastructure Act and all these different things, the EV bill.
And he's gonna be able to sell it better too. By the way, maybe y'all can learn something.
So,
Yeah.
there you go.
Now, if he puts the tariffs in place, I don't know if that's going to be able to uphold, be able to hold water going forward. He'll pretty much destroy himself doing that. But he said today, what his tariff initiative is. He's going to put tariffs on Canada, tariffs on Mexico, tariffs on his European allies. I don't know how this is going to work out for him. I think that's going to blow up in his face, personally, based on based on the numbers and the data. I don't think that he's going to be able to sustain that. I think that he'll get torn out the frame later. But yeah, but to your point, DC, he's going to take all the credit for what the Dems have done. And largely, when you look at what Biden has done, the Biden-Harris administration has done, Republicans benefited greatly in their states from this. Bridges, roads, all sorts of infrastructure, broadband expansion. All of this was to clean up those states. Those states were the ones that were failing.
You got to sell it.
Yeah,
You got right.
Yeah,
You can't be humble. You can't do the humble brag in the politics, man. You can't do the humble brag. And I know that Biden lives by that, but you can't do it because that's part of the dead man walking. Now they're going to be, history is going to look better upon him than this cycle, because now they're going to really dive into everything being a failed everything. Oh, it all failed. Failed candidate, failed presidency, all of this type of deal. And they're not going to look at some of the good things that he actually did to recover the economy. And that's just facts. Like everybody is basically agreed that there was mistakes made at the beginning, but they did good to recover the economy and get it to where it's pretty much functionally properly right now. To where basically they have made windfalls on other countries that basically were ahead of us after post COVID. So I mean, it is what it is, man.
But
And
what
those
was
are the
one of
facts. But
like,
people are not gonna people don't care about the facts though. I know that people don't. That's one thing we got to get that in our head, Mike. Like people don't care about the facts, bro. It's how people feel. At the end of the day,
And I'm
they
gonna
don't
tell you
talk
something.
about feelings,
Remember,
but it's about the way they feel about a certain person. If they don't
remember what I
feel
told you
you
too.
to a degree, they're not gonna hear you. If they don't feel you, they're not gonna hear you, man. Then put that on
And
the tagline. If they don't feel you, they're
I'm
not
gonna
gonna hear you.
and
That's
I'm gonna
it.
stick to
Bottom
this
line.
too. For her and the campaign not to hang COVID on his neck. By the way, that was another miss in my opinion too. I would have made that real nasty. By the way,
I would have said, what is Project War Speed? All the negatives that y'all talking about, what is Project War Speed?
yeah,
And I want to ask anybody that's so-called Trump banging in our chat, what is Project Warp Speed?
Operation Warp Speed.
Operation Warp Speed. Yeah. I mean, come on, man.
I would have hung it on. You know what he could have done. He could have ran. They could. I'm sorry, not he. They could have ran a campaign where they would have said in the red state maybe something like Trump made you get the vaccine, like something like just stop messing with that. And then in other areas that are more mixed areas, you would have said something like Trump allowed the virus to come in. He did not protect Americans.
Oh my
I've been
God.
thinking about this for so long, by the way. I'm just thinking to myself, how do you not exploit it? Don't worry about what you did, the lockdowns, and you just deal with that. Deal with that part, right? But
yeah,
just focus on that. Even though I save people's lives, it doesn't matter. You would neutralize a lot of that because
That should have been a narrative 2 years ago,
yeah.
man. 2 years ago, you
You have
should
to
have been
do it
running that.
you have to be very clever on how you do it because it's risky. Because Biden did lockdown, which also affected these votes, by the way. But there was something there. I don't know what exactly there was something. I think she may even mention it one time, by the way. But maybe
yeah,
it wasn't Bible enough, possibly.
That he gave the COVID vaccine test to Vladimir Putin. That was the line that she had used.
That's right. That was one. That was
Yeah,
one,
that was
sure.
one. That was one line. But to your point, that they should have leaned more into that and said, "Hey, everybody, one in every three people knows somebody close to them that has had COVID or even died from COVID for that matter, and
Right.
it's because of this guy over here. Those guys, they were running the country before. They got rid of the Office of Pandemics. It was those guys over there.
That's right.
Those guys over
Right.
there gave 3 trillion.
It
Gave
had it on a continuous loop in red states.
Yep. And
So
the reason why you don't have good healthcare coverage, when you had COVID, was because of this guy. Okay, this guy tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act.
I mean, it's right there for me in my mind. It was a bullseye.
Yeah.
Really shocking.
Go ahead, DC.
no, I was gonna say that the thing that he does the best is he keeps you playing defense without you playing offense. So you don't have an offensive game plan, and he's just steadily just bombarding you. It's like how Boston shoot threes. You can you know take some solace in this, Mike. You know how Boston they just host up 43s a game and they still win. It's just they overwhelm you by trying to catch up to what they're going to do. Their whole offense is just predicated on shooting the three. Remember, you couldn't shoot threes, but when Steph Curry got into the league, now everybody shoot threes. You got to shoot. You can't even you'll get blown out if you don't shoot at least 23s in a game. Like you can't even keep up with people. And that's what I'm saying. Like it's like that kind of deal. Like no matter how much misinformation, no matter how much disinformation that you say that it is, it doesn't keep up to where people are getting this on a daily loop, 24/7, and they believe it, hook, line, and sinker. Where they will come in here and tell you that Sarah Palin is the same as Kamala Harris. I mean,
Bruh.
Ain't nothing I can say to that. I mean, it's that you can do.
Let me
I
ask
can't
you this
convince that person. I can't convince that person otherwise, regardless of the evidence. She's a sitting vice president. She's the first black attorney. She's the first black woman attorney general of California. I mean, come on, man. I don't. I mean, it's too many. It's too. She has too much on her record as far as being a government official. Her whole adult life have been in government some kind of way. Whether it's she had worked herself from the local to the state to the national.
She's never worked for a
I mean,
private
come on, man.
organization. She's never worked for big
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So everything has been basically government centric. How is she not qualified?
Let me ask you
She's
this.
basically been in
If
government her
Biden,
whole life.
if Biden is healthy
Anyway,
and if Biden is healthy and energetic, does he win this campaign?
yes,
Yes.
yes.
If you have Biden from State of the Union, that's a guaranteed victory.
Yes, because the messaging would have been there. Like when we saw the meltdown during the debate, yeah, he couldn't message him. He couldn't deliver the message the way it needed to be delivered to win. Not against Trump. It wouldn't have worked. Yeah, didn't work. And you got to remember, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, Kamala Harris did embarrass Donald Trump during the debate, right? If I'm not mistaken, people forget about that.
They're eating their
She
dogs. They're
did.
eating their cats.
I'm saying, I'm just saying.
He was scared to do a second debate, bro.
That's what I'm saying. Like he did get embarrassed, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not, let's not talk about her like it's just like
Well,
this is just some kind of,
But remember something, because they didn't talk about it enough, and you have a lot of idiots, fortunately, listening. The thing is that, remember, we're gonna see. It's not said enough. Joe Biden was down 30 points or 25 or 40. It was some crazy number. He was down
right.
a huge amount.
So he was down bad.
That part, for some reason, is being left out here. If she was a bad candidate, that alone would have kept her in they would have been still in the tank. You see what I'm saying? Like, not viable, can't work. It was too much of a disaster. The numbers have been going down for the last 8 months. And, Trump is just going to win all the states because, they're just out. To be able to shore that all up, I mean, again, I can't say it enough. If you look at it from a certain perspective, it's impressive. To bring it all the way back up to 1% in that short amount of time with an unknown person. I mean, who technically you would argue wasn't necessarily even popular as a candidate. She means nothing to me, of course, but
she outperformed Nikki Haley.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the idea that I don't think necessarily that you can put Kamala in the same category as a Palin and then she outperforms Nikki Haley. That's just not mathematical. It's the math ain't mathing on that.
Well, most candidates in a pressure cook of 100 days for the presidential election for the biggest and greatest empire ever, and to hold your own day in and day out, impressive. You're not gonna get no argument from me on that. Most candidates, whoever you want to call it, pick a name. You have no idea. People would normally crumble. I don't care what any. I was waiting for it because I said, is she gonna keep adjusting and adapting and hitting the points and figuring it out?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. It just doesn't.
Mm-hmm. And what she did to their hit over there in Fox, what she did to them, they don't even run that. They don't even play it. You know why? They don't use it for propaganda over there? Because she basically abused that man. They would have ran that shit. How long would they ran that Paradox? When my man basically interviewed her at Fox. How many times would they ran that over there? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. We're gonna run it up on you fools. They don't talk about it, and that's what I'm saying. Like, no, Sarah Palin dog missed me with that, bro. Now I don't know who said that, but no, you, that's crazy.
But remember,
that's crazy.
Most people,
crazy.
Don't forget, most people are followers, and most people, especially in America, like fair weather fan type stuff, they go with the winning. They follow the.
And
winning.
I know.
So remember that part because I'm gonna tell you why.
And I know, but Paradox, that's one thing though I know about this space.
If you analyze the campaign, take the feelings out of it, and actually look at what was happening, and don't follow what you're hearing. But to be able to accomplish what you accomplish, and that's what makes me so angry about the left,
is that I should be hearing what we're saying right now is what they should be saying with millions
Exactly.
of people, telling people like, hey, this was amazing. No, anyway.
But what did they say? That's what I'm saying. So what did they say after she lost? Not stabilizing the party, not thank you, not looking out for the small man. We just came up short. No, what they're gonna say, oh no, they're gonna lambaste her and blame her for this. And then that's what I'm saying. Then you get the dog pile from the so-called grievance party because those people that voted for Donald Trump that are not really Republicans, and there's a lot of those people when they vote that way, they're doing it because they think that he's going to be their arbitrator of basically getting at the identity of the person that they hate the most. So whether that's a black woman, a white woman, LGBTQ, whatever the case may be, he's not your arbitrator of justice. He don't give a shit about that. That's what I'm saying. Donald Trump don't care about that, by the way. He don't give a fuck about that shit. He got gay friends, transgender friends, all that shit. He cool with these people. Come on, man.
Well, I would say this too. I think, and Trump.
I'm off of it, bro.
Trump said something that was very smart that got missed. He mentioned it a couple of times to see was it going to work, and it didn't work. So I thought it was very, very, very interesting. He says no one even knows her last name, and I wonder in the voting booth how many people pick the person that they know by name. You know what I mean? He kept saying, he said it a couple of times, and I think he was trying to get it to kind of go, but it didn't go anywhere. And I thought about what he said. I said, that is a very interesting question. Everyone constantly calls her Kamala. I wonder how does that impact, the casual voter who just votes, who just picks whatever and just goes in the booth. And I wonder when they're looking at the names, how not being familiar with a person's full name, what kind of impact does that have as well on when you're voting, by the way?
Name recognition, yeah.
Yeah, name recognition, exactly. Yeah, I wonder, can they? I guess they could measure it. I'm not sure if they tried to measure it yet, or they put those numbers out. But I am curious about that as well. So I feel like a lot of votes that he got is because they know his name, and they're not really familiar with her. They know her name. They know Kamala, obviously, you hear it all the time, but not know her full name. And hearing it constantly, BP Harris or candidate Harris, I wonder did that have any impact on some of the votes?
I think
maybe not, but
I think one of the key things that Trump did do is he had a very strong ground game in terms of where the places that he went. He went to a lot of places that were very unconventional for Republicans to even campaign in. And so, you're talking about the Bronx, you're talking about in Philly. He went to places that typically those are Democratic strongholds. I think when it came to the voters, that spoke to them, right? The undecideds, the swing voters, and so on and so forth. Those uncommitteds too. There were some uncommitteds that just did not vote for Kamala. They did vote maybe down ballot or down.
Do you know why he went there? Why he went to the Bronx and went to California and other places? You know why? In my opinion, because he had time. He squeezed all he could squeeze out of his. He'd been running the campaign for so many years. He didn't even have to really go to certain places anymore. He had plenty. He had so much time to kind of play around in some of these other places. If it was if he knew, if he had more time and they were really fighting it out over maybe a year or two, it would have been much more difficult for him, I think, to kind of slip into New York or slip into California. I think he went there 3 or 4 times, actually. I don't think he'd been able to do that as much, I don't think. And I think she would have had time, which I was talking about her going to Florida. I think they would have had time to get to Florida, get to Texas, and maybe get to some other places where they kind of shore up some of those blue areas in those places as well, which she wasn't able to do because, of course, she only had 100 days, roughly.
Yeah. Doug Emhoff went to Miami, and so did Jasmine Crockett. But she just chose. Well, I shouldn't say she chose. I'm saying the campaign opted out from it from that. And they even said early. They said early in the campaign, even in June, they said that Biden would not campaign in Texas because they saw it as a loss. But the numbers say otherwise. That Texas was a very doable state. Had they put the money into it. They only put $100 million into it, I think, in 2020. And Biden got 46% of the vote. And so had the administration put, or I shouldn't say the administration, but the campaign put in $300 million that they put into Florida in the midterms, I think that they could have taken Texas. I mean, based on the numbers, I think that Texas was a very doable place. I mean, they put 300 million into Florida in the midterms, but then they put that same money
I
in
just don't.
Texas now.
Maybe they could have got closer. I don't know about them flipping Texas. That's a tough one right there, bro.
Well,
You're not flipping. You're shoring up your blue area. So Austin,
Yeah,
Miami,
yeah.
Houston, etc.
Yeah, because they have lost.
You have to do it, but you can't do it because you have 100 days, and you've already put a plan together to say we're going to do this. We're going to execute this plan.
Yeah,
we're not going to deviate from it. I'm assuming based off what I heard in the interviews today. Actually.
Yeah, no, that's my point. That's my point. I'm not saying that she can flip Texas completely. I'm saying the areas that she needs, which was Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, and El Paso. Those areas where she needed to really campaign.
No,
Really
your logic is sound. Your logic is sound. It's sound. It's just time. Time was a time. That would have took time to do to get that base kind of solidified the way.
I'm gonna say it one more time. Time is the driving factor, nothing else. That's what's driving your decisions when you have 100 days to run a campaign of the planet, bro.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Like that is the drive. That's what's making you make the decisions.
Right.
We have 2 years, then we're not talking about time. But when time is of the essence, time.
Yeah, because like if
the only factor here, that's what's making you pick and choose what you're picking and choosing. It's the time factor, nothing else.
Mike, I think she may. I could be wrong. Now, let me just say this right off the bat, since people are real sensitive about this. But I think that she may lean in and run. She may test the waters 2 years out, and if it's still warm or lukewarm to where she can get a team that fits around her, and then they do the numbers and it kind of bears out. She may be the person going up against JD Vance in the 2028 if she gets through the primary. But she got to go through the primary like everybody else does. So it depends. But once they make that choice and then she gets that, like what Paradox is saying, we'll see her get the benefit of the time issue. Because I think people will forget this. This will be.
No. She's going to run a primary. You're going to find out, do voters actually want her first?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's what I mean.
That's what matters first. Yeah. Do the Democratic Party actually want her, or do they want
exactly? Because that's how you get everybody on board, not a split party. By the way, you get everybody on board. Everybody's okay. We all good. That's what the people decided. Okay, we all in. Let's all go together now. Like, yeah, that's the person. So yeah, they make that choice, and then everybody going with it. You know, everybody not doing the fake smiles at the DNC. You know, smiling through their teeth. You know, there will be legitimate support, so everybody would be happy about supporting her if that happens. But you know, we'll see, man. Like it'll be interesting next 2 years, so to speak. So we'll see how it all turns out.
No, definitely. I think that I think it's really dependent upon how the new administration coming in. I think it's also dependent upon how they perform, whether or not they crash the economy or another pandemic comes around that forces him out. Because based on his agenda right now, I don't see him surviving 4 years. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. You know, my opinion. I don't see how he runs that agenda for 4 years and no one is impacted by it. I think that's going to be a disaster for him. You know, he'll botch it the same way he botched it in 2017, 2018. You know, he had a good economy when he came in, you know, from Obama, and he kind of just reversed everything Obama did, and everything fell apart. So for him, so if he tries to reverse everything that Biden has done, it's going to blow up in his face even more. Primarily because a lot of these big projects that were that are on the table now, you can't really reverse that. You can't really reverse, continental rail and things like that, big infrastructure projects, because they can't just stop just because you don't like Biden, right? Or you didn't like the last administration. It doesn't work that way. You know, these things have to keep going, and you have to fund it. And if you decide that you're not going to fund it, there's going to be a lot of folks that's going to come out with the pitchforks, especially from the blue collar side. That's going to be like, nah, we're not doing this.
Like I said, man, if they need to purge the party, and she needs to do that by going to the primaries and primary with her message being a strong left-leaning message. I'm gonna be about trying to reestablish, because some of the things are going to be taken away. and it's going to hurt a lot of people. So I'm about restoring some of these rights and things of the nature, and that's what I'm going to run on. And I'm going to lean into that. I'm going to lean into the rights of minorities and the rights of people, DEI and all that type of stuff, diversity and inclusion. When she leans into that, then that will energize the base, and then whoever has that message, hopefully that energizes the base and that gets them on the right track. Medicare for all. We're gonna get that going. So that's something that's gonna probably be very, very prevalent during these next 4 years. You're gonna see what's missing because of how the administration is going to run it for the next 2 to 3 years. So, and Trump is a lame duck president. We talked about this too. Me and Paradox talked about it. He just cares about being the president. He don't care about the job. He don't want the job. I think people misunderstand it.
It's the dog chasing the car. What do you do when you catch it?
The dog just sit there and wag his tail and all happy and everything. Don't know what to do. I think he likes running more so than being in office because he don't like being in Washington. He don't like DC. He don't like being here. So he don't want to read the briefings every morning. He's not into that. So outside of the first 100 days to where he can run it up. Go ahead.
I would give you two predictions. I would argue, and I don't want it to happen, obviously, but maybe war will probably be one that may be out of his control, even though he think he might have control over that. We'll see. I know that's one, and I think the second one might be getting prices down.
What is this? You started just signed the ceasefire.
The border. Now he's already getting a little issues with the border with trying to put troops on the ground. That's going to be a whole problem trying to put troops in America. That's the whole situation, obviously. But
yeah,
he'll be able to deal with the border. That's going to be pretty. I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. But I think claiming you can bring prices down and possible war. I wonder would those two things be the biggest thorns in the next 2 years.
He did put active duty troops on the border the last time he was in office, so that I don't think that's outside the realm for him. But they were ineffective at what he was trying to do. It's just you're trying to use a sledgehammer to build a house.
That was for COVID, right?
Yeah, but that was
not prior to COVID.
Not
I can't remember.
Yeah, he talked about doing it prior to COVID, but I think that the idea was
COVID opened it up for him to be able to do it. I think.
Yeah, I think the idea here was that he listed it as an invasion. Where the invasion was coming from, I don't know, but that's how he listed it. That's why he used active duty personnel. But they didn't really do anything either. They just kind of sat on the border and kind of moped around in Humvees and whatnot. They didn't really do anything. And so, in the amount of fence that he built, I think it was something like 150 kilometers or something like that. No, not 150 kilometers, something like 10 kilometers or something like that. It was a very low number. And it wasn't enough to really close the border anyway. So the money that was utilized to build that wall, it kind of went to somebody else's pockets, but nobody talks about that. No one talks about all the shenanigans that went on back then. They just pretend like he never ran for office before.
Mm-hmm. So we will see, man. Paradox, you ready to go ahead and shut it on down, man? I gotta jump anyway.
Yeah, I do too.
I gotta get the little one ready for the mall. We got a busy day.
No sweat.
Mike, you got some final thoughts, Mike? You want to kind of end on before we get up on out of here?
Hey, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thanks for coming up, man. We appreciate it. So, yeah.
All right, man. That's all I got. So this is the Code Breaker. This is Paradox.
And this is DC. Until next time. Peace.